YouTube. I'm recording on Zencastr. We're good to go. All right. I always got to give it a second to make sure I'm live. But yes, I think I am. All right.
You are live, sir.
Awesome. Well, here we are. This is chapter 31 of the DC Alliance podcast. My name is Greg. We have a huge show this evening. A lot of people joining us because we get to talk about the first new superhero movie we've got to see in quite a while. And I'll start off before I introduce everybody and say the movie was good, but it can be better. So, we'll continue on this conversation with that. But I'm going to introduce everybody, starting just counterclockwise. My homeboy Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing amazing. Nice to actually our first movie review on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network.
Yeah,
gotta be. Why not?
Right. Proud to have it.
Nice.
Joe, what's up, man?
Not much. I'm glad to be a part of the first one. Didn't know it was the first one. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Making history is what we're doing, sir.
Yay, I did it.
Clay's with us. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I also did not know this was the first one. I thought there had to be one, but I keep forgetting that you guys are just under a year for Geek Ultimate Alliance.
And no one wanted to do New Mutants.
Yeah, but you could have done Birds of Prey.
I mean, you could have done Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for it to drop on Disney Plus, and I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not missing much. It was okay, but you're not missing much.
Lisa's with us too. How you doing, Lisa?
Hey, doing well. Happy to help make history here. Also did not know that, but thank you for having me.
It'll go down in the annals.
Yeah, everyone's writing
Chiseled.
about this right now. What we did
In
today
stone.
is going to change the fabric of the internet.
That's right. Sarah's with us. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to be finally on DC Ultimate Alliance. I'm like, yay. I've heard you guys so many times. I'm just so excited to finally be here.
I can't believe this is the first time you've been on.
I know.
crazy.
And speaking of Birds of Prey, I let
Dang,
my
this is
children
the first
watch
time for
that.
me.
So
How did that go?
That's first time for me too, Clay and
My-
Sarah.
my daughter,
Lots of
she
firsts.
wanted to watch it again. She thought, oh shit, is the funniest thing she's ever heard in her life. Like she hasn't heard that, multiple times in this house. But yeah, she
Not out
loved
of a character's mouth.
she loves Harley Quinn.
Fair point.
She saw Suicide Squad. She loved it. She just loves Harley. I'm just like, you can't wear the pants. I mean, she'd walk around with a baseball bat over her shoulders like this. I'm like, you're
So cute.
7.
She daddy's little monster.
Nope, that's not true.
Oh,
No.
yeah. Not gonna happen. Nope. Got 2 daughters. That doesn't have no daddy's little monster.
Show her the classic suit. She can wear that one.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, the red and black bodysuit. I can do that, but
Yeah.
let's not show skin. I'm good with that. But I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. And we've also got Mr. Snell. Travis, how you doing, buddy?
Good. 2 things. I love that you had to get your review up first before everybody, Greg. And then second of all, I also have a daughter that loves Harley Quinn, but the problem is she's only 3.5. So on HBO Max, she sees the Harley Quinn show and go, no, but we did watch the DC Superhero Girls today. And it was interesting. I couldn't believe that Commissioner Gordon is still a commissioner and a high school teacher at the same time. It's very impressive. That's a lot to do for a dad, but it was enjoyable. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
He's got free time. It's fine.
yeah, I have HBO Max. There's a lot of these I haven't seen, and they're fun what they do.
Oh, they are.
It's strange
really
seeing Poison Ivy just work on math equations, but you know what? She loved it, and that's what's awesome about it, and that gets everybody into it. So that's
Right.
the best part. So
There you go. All right. Well, we got a big movie to talk about tonight. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get into the network because this is going to be the regular airing of the DC Alliance this week. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network where you can find shows 7 days a week. World's Finest True Believers, DC Alliance Podcast, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Star Wars Ultimate Alliance, Ranger Alliance, Weird Science, DC and Marvel Comics. There's superhero discussions, Slice of Film, and of course, Super Civil Servants Podcast. And check out in the show notes where you can find all those, or come check us out. You'll see something every day. It's fun stuff. We are also an ad-supported network, so there will be ads in this episode. And we do have a Patreon account. So we do have a $1 tier that just helps keep the lights on, and we really appreciate everybody contributing to that. There's also a $5 tier where you can get ad-free or early episodes and some exclusive stuff that drops just for patrons. So come check us out. We appreciate all the support. And I think I got everything.
yes, sir.
Awesome. Nailed it. All right, cool. Well, I got a little layout here that we had for it that we kind of got the structure we kind of follow. I want to, of course, I got to pull it up. So I know the first one was just we'll go around circle, just overall thoughts, no spoilers. So we'll go no spoilers for the first little bit, and then we'll walk into spoilers with it. So I'll go the reverse order. I went with the names. Travis, start with you. Overall thoughts of the movie, no spoilers. No grade. We're doing grades at the end.
Yeah, of course, no grades, no food, nothing like that. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. It's kind of, I think we talked about this a long time ago at DC Fan, and I was expecting an enjoyable superhero movie. That's what I got. I think there's some of it being a mixed bag. I think this is a little bit, I was talking about Geekverse near the end. That wasn't even a topic. I just think that it's hard for comic movies now that you do got to be a lot different. And I think there's some tropes in here that I've maybe seen one too many times. I want a little bit of a spin on them, but shots wise, it's really good. I know there's some maybe problems with the plot some people have. Performances are good all the ways around. It's kind of like Gal Gadot is kind of becoming the kind of Hugh Jackman, Robert Downey, where it's kind of like, if they make 6 of these movies, I'm always going to watch them because I really enjoy her in these no matter what. So it's like, I hope we never get to Wolverine Origins level with Wonder Woman. Like, this was nowhere near that. This was a good time. I've seen it about once and a half now, and I really enjoyed it. It's nowhere near the first one for me, but I wasn't really expecting that. Just kind of from the trailers, nothing had really grabbed me per se. And I've said this many times, so if you're new, I'll say it for you. I'm just not a big fan of prequels, and this is kind of that box of, there's a lot of things that I know are going to happen, and they kind of happen. So I enjoyed it, but kind of have some mixed feelings on it. So that's my kind of quick overalls.
Sarah?
I loved it. I mean, but I knew it wasn't going to be as fantastic as the first one because the magic of the first one, I just don't think you could recreate. The setting of the 1984 actually colored a lot of it. And I think that kind of built on some of the critiques I have about it in particular. But the overall thing, I mean, it was a beautifully made movie. I thought that the shots, I mean, it was just, I don't know. I was engrossed throughout the whole movie. Now, I know there might have been a few spots where I'm like, maybe we could have like shortened it a little bit, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Even it was, I guess, a prequel, but then again, was it a sequel? I don't know. I'm just like trying to figure out because
It's a
Wonder Woman's so
pre-sequel.
yes,
Yeah.
because Wonder Woman's so timeless. You know, the first one was like base 40-ish, then you have the 84, so it's kind of like at what time? Yes, I talk a lot with my hands. I'm sorry, but I mean, I just thought it was a beautifully made movie like the first one. And then, like I said, I mean, I got the message. I totally understood it the first go around. I kind of didn't really focus on a lot of the issues that I had. There might be a couple things I was just like, but overall, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think it was on the level what I expected. But I mean, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean,
Right.
what can I say? I'm a Wonder Woman fan.
I hear you. Good deal. Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm with Sarah here. I really enjoyed it. Way back when I said, I think this movie's going to come out and it's not going to meet the expectations of some people because that first one was so groundbreaking. It was such a huge movie for women, superhero movies with women, all that. And it's hard to recreate that. I think it's also hard to touch on that seriousness of World War One. This took place during the Cold War, and I do like that Patty Jenkins picks less popular wars. I'm putting that in air quotes, but you know what I mean. Like a lot of stuff's usually set in World War II or Vietnam. I think it's cool to put this during the Cold War, and I like that the first one was during World War One. So I don't know. I think there is a through line between the two of them, even though they're so different. And I found it really enjoyable. I guess there are a few things, kind of like you guys have been saying, that maybe I would have changed. But overall, I really enjoyed it. And maybe I'm not as harsh a critic right now with everything going on. I just want to be entertained. And so this movie did that. And yeah, I don't know. I like it. I wish I had seen it one more time before this review, if I'm honest. But yeah, overall, I liked this movie.
Okay. Clay?
I think I'm gonna be the only one.
I don't think you will, sir.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. I'm reading Nathan over here in the chat, but it was okay, and I think that's the only thing I'm safe to say as far as spoilers go. So
He took the knee on that one. It's okay. He took the knee and he ran the
Defer.
clock
That's
out.
perfectly fine. We'll discuss it later.
Yeah, there you go.
that's where I'm at.
Makes sense. Joe, what do you think, man?
I enjoyed it. I was talking with Clay, I think yesterday, the day before. Whenever I see a comic book movie, I see it the first time just for the excitement level.
Mhm.
And I get my hype out, and I'm just watching the movie for that. I'm just finally seeing the movie. The second time through is when I start analyzing. I did enjoy it. Like it wasn't. I'm not gonna say it was bad. I'm not gonna say it's okay, like Clay did. I enjoyed it, and we'll get into some of what I thought was wrong later on. So,
Chris?
Yeah, I take a little bit of what Lisa said. You know, when the first trailer came out and we saw kind of the setting of it, my immediate thought is, okay, Patty has always been a fan of Richard Donner, Superman. She's gone on record many times. I see where she's going with this. So knowing that going into it, my expectations were kind of mild and just saying I don't want to. I think my only expectations of being more than that was just saying, oh my God, this is the first major movie I've seen comic book wise since Birds of Prey. So it was more just finally I get to see something of the genre I love. But I thought it was good for what I saw. Like everyone here, I have some wonderings, and some of my wonderings are of a certain also co-writer of this film that will no longer be hopefully writing this again in the impact that had. But I liked it for what it brought to the screen. And yes, nothing will take away from the first one. I don't think it was ever trying to. It's just very difficult with how historic that movie was in the sense of bringing Wonder Woman to the screen. But I enjoyed it. But again, I have my thoughts. I have my hot takes.
Yeah, I'm the same kind of way. I have some hot takes on it. You know, there were some moments that I think they really hit the nail on the head. There were some moments that I didn't know if I get past. The first time I watched it, I just didn't have that feeling after I watched it that I felt like I was going to have, being so excited for it. And I kept telling myself to stop comparing it to the first one, because once again, like you guys all said, the first one was groundbreaking. It was such a great movie. It's hard to live up to that, but I guess I wasn't fulfilled. I didn't feel like I'd gotten what I was expecting out of it. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it a second time and see if the parts that bothered me in the first time still bother me, or if I see anything different that can explain it. And it didn't really move the needle the second time I watched it. It's a good movie, but it can be better. And we're going to talk about a lot of different parts about that here soon. So we got some pretty good differing opinions on this, and I'm glad to hear that, because I want to see what you guys had to say about it. But let's
You sound like Maxwell Lord with the saying,
that's the point.
your,
Yeah.
I know you're doing your best. You're doing your best impression. I didn't pick up on the first time, but very nice. I want to ask, because are you transitioning to spoilers, Greg?
We will. I just want to ask a few questions, and we'll transition to
Okay.
spoilers.
I had one question just randomly, because I feel like
Yeah.
almost all of us have said this, and it's funny when you look at like Wonder Woman, the first one, The Dark Knight, Iron Man. Does anyone have a film that was like the huge in the comic book franchise that was like had this huge, like, this is a huge breakout moment, and then the next one wasn't considered, not disappointing, but lesser than? Because I feel like The Dark Knight, okay, Greg, I know what you're gonna go to, but I'll argue. But like The Dark Knight, you have Dark Knight Rises, which I love, but people kind of say, oh, it's a messy film, like Iron Man to Iron Man 2, people, oh, another messy film. And this is kind of that same thing where it's like, for me, that first one, there's just certain moments and scenes, and especially not even for the genre, just DC at that point was in such like a cross paths with the fan base. It's one of those that I feel like there's never, in other films, I could give you like Godfather 1, then part 2, sure, but in comic book movies, and I'll throw it to Greg. What is the one you were going to shout out?
Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, see, I love Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I don't think people think it has the same impact as the first one. I think a lot of people are like you that like crap on me when I put in my top 5. They're like, "What's wrong with you? Did you eat paint chips as a kid?"
Yeah, no, it's not as bad as what Travis is trying to put. I honestly, I was gonna go character wise as far as like depiction. I would have gone with freaking crap. What is his name? Edward Norton and who?
Mark Ruffalo. Yeah. I've seen castings. Yeah, that's why I was just wondering, like, one single film. I don't think any comic film has really done that yet.
I can't think of anything yet.
And I just thought it was interesting. We all kind of put that out there. So,
all right. I want to know y'all's thoughts on. I don't know. Did all of us see it streaming at home?
Yep.
No,
Not
some of
Joe.
us saw it in theaters?
Joe saw it in theaters.
I rented a theater and went and saw.
Oh, very
okay.
nice.
Okay. So I want to get everybody else's experience and thoughts on just seeing it at home for the first time. Then I want to hear you're buying a theater out because that's
Go ahead.
pretty awesome. So
I went to a real deal theater. I mean, I did the
Oh,
whole regular
I hear you.
experience.
I hear you. All right. Well, Chris, what did you think, man? You saw it at home for the first time. Did it affect you? Were you upset that the first time you saw it was at home?
Yeah, I've we've talked on Super Civil Servants about this. You and I agree, and I think a lot of us said that there's going to be movies that I want to see in theaters. Star Wars, number one. I have seen every single Star Wars movie 1 through 9 in theaters at one point or another. So that is a movie that you have to see that to kind of get that experience there. It's, yeah, I could have Zack Snyder set up in my house and probably come pretty darn close at that point,
Yeah.
to get that theater quality. But, it was nice. It was, just having my own setup, not having to deal with anyone around me in the sense I could kind of be that way. But I enjoyed it. I did miss the experience, and I wonder, and that's why I'm very curious to hear Sarah and Joe's thoughts, because those that I have spoken to that did see it in theaters did say it brought something different to it.
Mhm.
It didn't necessarily alter drastically their opinion of it, but they're glad they did get to see it in theaters, which gives me hope for what theaters can come back to be.
Okay. I mean, it almost sounds like that it's more of the experience of being able to see it in theater for the experience, not necessarily making the movie better.
I
Kind
think I think sequences and the sound quality and what
Okay.
you're seeing, especially the sequences in IMAX, are I have a 4K TV and it looks stunning at that point where the IMAX sequences, but you cannot get that exact same sequence if you see those sequences. Like the Themyscira sequence was IMAX, and
Okay.
that is not replicated easily just on a TV.
Makes sense. Clay, did you see it at home
Oh,
streaming? First
I
time?
did. I think Lisa, you want to go ahead and go first?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah. I saw it streaming, and I do wish I had seen it in a theater, but I was also relieved that this was an option. The holidays are kind of a busy time. And so it's kind of nice to have that convenience of being able to access that in your home theater. But I will say that I agree with what Chris is saying. There are some scenes that are so cinematic that your TV at home just cannot capture that unless you're very rich and have those resources. I don't. So there were some things that I saw that I thought this looks fine, but I did think, wow, if I was on a big screen and I had a great sound system, this would look better. And I think that superhero films are one of those types of films in the movie genre that benefit greatly from being on a big screen.
Okay. Go ahead, Clay.
Yeah,
So-
so I feel the same way as Lisa. I am so glad that I had the opportunity to watch it at home, just because I have some crazy family members, and it's just been a little weird during the pandemic. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna enjoy myself here at home watching this movie. Would I have loved to watch this movie in theaters? Yes, I love the superhero experience in theaters. I think I'm starting to slowly just be like, for majority of other things, unfortunately, unless it's something for me personally. I did actually go see Tenet in a theater during this whole thing, but I went like super, super early. There was literally nobody else in the theater, just me and my friend. So, thank heavens for that. But for me, I was kind of glad that I was able to stream it at home. I mean, I don't have a huge setup either. I just moved into this place, so it's literally just my 54 or 55-inch TV screen, Roku, boom, that's it. Like no fancy speaker system or nothing. But it was a good experience. I think overall my wife was happier that we watched it at home because, like I said, moving into a new apartment, like this whole week, we were kind of just dog tired. So
I don't envy you the move, but
No, not at all.
congratulations.
Done moving, hopefully. What do you think, Travis? You saw it streaming first time?
Yeah, so somehow for an early wedding gift, I'm watching HBO Max in Canada. Thank you very much, Greg. But I The only problem I had is I'm kind of like everyone else. I'd love to be on the big screen. I'm a big like theater guy. Like I'll go see independent movies if I can on the big screen. It's just as an event and everything like that. But I think it's good to have both options. I stay at home because one, it's the holidays. It's just that I hope, but I've never been someone that went to go see movies during Christmas, and I understand why people would because that's a family thing. But I never have time when you have other members family and you got kids. It's a hassle. So I'm excited for the year if they stay tuned as far as having the double releases. The only problems I had was every once in a while, if there was a buffer, that would take me out of it, and just in the sense of like, I got to just stop in this, and it wasn't too bad. It was more my PS5 as far as they've just said on that version. It's not the greatest, but that's the only thing that I miss the theaters of. For the most part, 99% of the time you sit down in a theater, there's not going to be any problems. Maybe once in a while there is, but that's the only thing of, of course I'd want the big screen, the big sound system, that experience. But in this kind of realm we're living in, I'm perfectly happy sitting at home and watching it just because it's just kind of the route to go. But I would love to see it in theaters one day, and maybe I will when they play stuff back, but I that didn't take away my experience because I was actually pretty excited when it started up, and even just pausing and seeing 2.5 hours, like, oh, it's a good bang for your buck too. And obviously we'll get in that because some people had a problem with the runtime, but yeah, so streaming it had a few buffering problems, but that's probably just HBO Max is just kind of new with all this traffic. So
Yeah.
Gosh darn AT&T and their servers.
yeah.
Real quick before we get to the ones who saw it in theaters, I'm going to say I'm right there with you, Travis. I didn't mind it. Of course, this is a movie. Had it been normal times, I would have paid to go see it in theaters, and I would have enjoyed it very much because I love the theater experience. But I'm not gonna lie, Christmas Day, I'm sitting down on the couch with both my daughters, fire going, TV on, watching this movie. Something happens, I get to get up and pause it and walk away and to go take care of that and come back to it. It was a really nice feature, and I really enjoyed that. I do miss the theater experience, but I don't feel like I know you get more at a theater experience as far as sound quality, and you might get a little more of the picture, a better quality picture, but I don't feel like the stuff that you get in the theaters should make or break what a good movie is. You know what I mean? It shouldn't make the movie good or bad. It should be nice things you get to see extra to go to the theater and see, but it shouldn't be a movie where like, well, if you didn't see it in theaters, it's not good. Like if you saw it in theaters, it would have been better, but if you didn't see it in theaters, it's not good. So, and I don't think this movie's at that point. I enjoyed the movie. Once again, we'll get into the issues that we have with it, but I didn't mind streaming it at home. I had a good time watching it at home with the family. I'm sure that one day maybe I'll go see it in theaters if I can, but at this time it's just not worth it, and I enjoyed it. All right, so let's get to somebody who saw it in theaters. Sarah, I'll start with you. You saw it in theaters, all right?
Well, I guess you could say I saw it like the traditional experience. The theater, it's only because we have this one theater in Raleigh that I absolutely love, and that's the Alamo Drafthouse. I love this theater because you can sit down, you can eat, you have beers, all that kind of good stuff. And plus, there weren't that many people in that theater. So I think we decided to go Saturday because that was Brian's birthday.
Nice.
And also, we didn't want to do it Christmas Day. I mean, I had my parents come over Christmas Day, but that's it. We have a small family, so that wasn't an issue. The kids actually wanted to see it. So we went in. There might have been, there's 4 of us. There was like maybe 3 other people in our row. I don't know how many. There was like no people in front of us. It was a small theater, so it was like minimal people there. And we had already took the kids a few weeks, like maybe last month, to see Ghostbusters. So it was kind of like to get out there to see how everything was. So, I mean, I felt fairly comfortable because, everybody was like spaced out, and I felt like the theater was really good about doing that. So going to see it in the big screen, yes, I would not take it back for anything. But then again, I mean, there's been a lot of comic book movies that I've seen. Like, for instance, Thor, that was one I didn't see in theaters. And the only time I saw it was at home. So it's almost like the same difference where either you stream it or, you pick it up from the Redbox, before streaming was a big thing. But coming home and able to see it again, that was really cool because that's not something you're like, I just saw this like maybe an hour and a half ago, and now I can watch it again. I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I pull everything up. I'm like, it's there. Because there's certain parts I want to be like, did I hear that correctly? But for the most part, I mean, it's still not the traditional movie experience. I feel like it's better because you don't have these packed theaters. You can actually go in and enjoy yourself and not feel like somebody's right here, like right beside you. So, I mean, I don't have an issue with that at all. Because I've been to theaters a lot of times where you have people sitting beside you and you're like, I'm like, you stay on your side, you stay over there, or somebody behind you.
I don't think I
talking, or-
miss packed theaters.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
Like
not.
being on an
Absolutely.
airplane.
Exactly. So I mean, it's like I like the way it is now,
Mhm.
but because I do feel more comfortable, I feel like I can enjoy myself a little bit more.
Right.
It's still, you walk in, they take your temperature, not that it, and you just go right into your seat. But then again, this theater is a lot different than, I guess, your traditional theaters, because I haven't been to like like an AMC or a Regal. Gosh, I think the last time I went to an AMC was probably to see Frozen 2. But I just love this theater, and I think it's the only one I would go to. But if it wasn't open, I would not have been upset to watch this at home, because it's one of those movies where, yes, I would rather see it on a big screen. But it's kind of like when you're watching the first one, after seeing it, it's still a beautiful film. So, I mean, and I've said this before on SES, I'm like, I will take it any way you can hand it out. I mean, if it's in the theater only, I'll take it. If it's streaming only, I'll take it. Both, absolutely. So, but it was nice to see it on the big screen.
Hey,
It was.
I imagine it would have been. Well, the best way to fix the packed theater situation is just do like Joe did and rent the whole theater out. So you can do it like
Yeah.
this. Joe, tell me about that, man. What was that
Um,
experience like?
So that it was basically just my whole family. It did max out to 20 people. It was my whole family, and then my best friend Ron and his girlfriend and kids, my co-host on my other show. It was just all of us. It was 20 people, $200 because it was a brand new film.
Mm.
And yeah, we got to rent out a theater, and
That's awesome.
we spread
Nice.
out across the whole, like, it was a smaller theater. I think max of like 120 people, allegedly. But like we were all spread out in like the middle of the rows, all leading back up, just so we all could have a good old viewing of it. And it was nice. Like I sat right there, not in the front, but like right in between the aisle, like right behind the first aisle. And then there was nobody behind me. And then my dad was behind that row. My other sister and brother were in the row after. Like, it was just, everybody was spread out. It was good. I agree with Sarah. Seeing it on the big screen is just awesome. I'm one of those, ever since the first Hobbit movie, I've been seeing a movie on Christmas Day in the theaters, and I was really not gonna lie, I was a little worried I wasn't going to be able to this year. And then they offered this up. I'm like, done. I'm doing it. Like, I don't care if I get like 10 people. Like, it's fine.
Still a good deal. Yeah.
Exactly. But then again, I also was like, hey, Merry Christmas. You all get to go see a movie with me. I'll pay for it, whatever. Which really kind of, I think, screwed me in the end, because I went to the AMC. My preferred is Regal, but Regal shut down right now. So I went to the AMC and rented out that. They overbooked the time slot. They were only supposed to like book 2 or 3 for the time slot we went. They ended up booking 5. So the first theater we went into apparently was the wrong theater. They moved us to another theater all the way on the other side of the building, which I'm assuming is the one they don't use often because the heat wasn't on and they couldn't get it turned on.
Oh no.
And so everybody was freezing, and they ended up giving us
And theaters are cold to begin with.
Right.
Mhm.
not usually, not over here. Well, I guess I am in Midwest, so I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But they comped us tickets. They gave everybody free tickets, free popcorn, free drinks
Oh,
for
nice.
like another review. So I kind of got screwed in the end. Everybody that came with me kind of made out because they got to see a movie for free, and then they got free tickets for another movie. I'm like, damn,
Wow.
I got screwed.
No, but
no.
also, Sarah,
Should've
you went to
passed around
Alamo
a
Draft
collection
House.
plate.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Alamo
should've.
Draft House, you can pay $150 for buying an entire theater.
I was perfectly fine with my little full crowd in there, because literally it was almost like you rented out the theater, because literally when we saw the Ghostbusters, there was hardly anybody in there.
Nice.
And
that-
even with this film being, because we went at like 11 in the morning. So I mean, and there was hardly anybody in there either. So
That's why I love early showings.
When I went
Yes.
to New Mutants, that was very similar. That was right after the pandemic was in full swing and theaters opened up for a hot minute. There was maybe 7 people in there in a giant theater. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Sarah. But this one, this guaranteed me not being next to
your
somebody.
bubble.
So I think the next time I rent out a theater will be for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And
Now,
if it's just me, fine. I don't care. I'll sit there for the
I
whole 4
might
hours and
actually
watch
do
it.
it for Alamo Draft House. I might do it.
Yes,
that's
because
so
like I said, I
tempting.
mean, you can
It's
sit there.
in,
You
it's
can,
in Raleigh.
yes,
Y'all hit me
Mhm.
up. I might be able to throw down on that. Anybody who's around.
yeah, absolutely.
You guys
It's,
can
it's
come
like
up to-
probably 25 minutes from my house. 25 minutes from my house. It's like right
No one
on the other side of. It's like east of Raleigh.
wants to come forward in Indiana. I see how it is.
Hey, if
I've driven
hey,
through Indiana.
I had to cancel a flight. I had to cancel a flight due to COVID, and the credit is only through February. If Zack Snyder's Justice League was in February, I
Like,
could have gone.
yeah.
I would have.
Sorry.
I would have.
No, it's not.
But it's not. It's
Sorry.
not.
Well, you could fly out in February and then fly back
Just-
whenever.
Just come back in March.
I got a couch. You can
Yeah,
let
I'm
just
stopping you.
Look,
I'm just
Clay,
gonna quit my job for a month and hopefully they'll take me back.
Clay, you can come stay here. I've got a library you can read.
I can finally look at the library.
Yeah.
That should just be the
Move
torn
some-
within itself.
Yeah, that's
he'll
the whole
move
reason
some-
for the trip right there.
He'll move some books. You can sleep on the shelf there behind.
And there is a squirrel. All right, time down for that. So, no, but I'm sorry. Thoughts on just streaming? Once again, I think we all kind of different views about it. I think seeing it in theaters would have been great, but unfortunately, with the
Yes,
times we have
the
right now,
streaming, like my second viewing, it was streaming. It wasn't bad. Like I still
Mhm.
enjoyed it.
Didn't-
Being able to
didn't change
pause
it
here
much.
and there.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think the thing about it too, with this movie being the second Wonder Woman movie, I think streaming it is a lot different. I think you can handle it a lot better because I don't think I would have handled it if it was the first movie. I
correct.
think I would have been like, I need to see this on the big screen. But this one, I think you could handle it on the smaller screen.
Okay.
Well, one thing that me and a friend of mine were saying was even though I probably have a lot of negative things to say about this movie, I'm still considering buying a ticket to a theater to at least support
Mhm.
the movie in theaters.
Yeah.
Like that's what we were talking about doing. So I might still do it.
Makes
I,
sense.
yeah, I wish I could. I just don't feel safe going out there. I want to support them. I mean, the minute I can and the minute I feel safe, I'll be heading
Well,
back
no,
in
like
theaters.
I would like purchase a ticket and just not go.
Oh,
Mm.
well, there's that
just
too.
do it.
Yeah.
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 Always do
Not
that.
bad, yeah.
All right. Well, I got one more thing I want to just touch on real quick, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll go full spoiler after the break. So, anybody listening, you can just stop listening. Who hasn't seen it yet, stop listening before the first break. I want to talk about the Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig castings.
Yes.
I want to overall.
Yeah,
what
you
y'all
put
think of those?
Catherine on the.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. And Katie called me out,
Yeah, I
and
was like, oh,
yeah,
Catherine,
my
who's
bad.
that?
I'm like, are we like,
I
was trying to
Oh, I
figure out who
finally
Catherine was.
got what she says. Like Catherine, huh?
Well, it's funny because if she hadn't called me out, I probably would have read it the wrong way just now. So, thank you for that. So appreciate it. But just we'll start. I'll go in a different order this time. Lisa, what do you think of these castings? Did you enjoy these roles? Could you see them in future roles in this universe?
Pedro Pascal is having a moment, right? He's everywhere. He's all over the place, and I'm fine with that. He's a great actor, and I think it's fun to see him do such different things. To go from like Narcos to The Mandalorian to, Lord Maxwell. These are really different roles, and better than when he was like in the Kingsman sequel, which I didn't even realize that was him like the entire movie. But
I just
anyway,
found out he was in an episode of Buffy today.
oh yeah,
What? You didn't know?
I didn't realize.
I didn't
totally
know.
forgot. I haven't-
And
I haven't seen
I
Buffy
mean,
in forever.
we all talked about it in chat, but he was in the old, now nixed Wonder Woman TV pilot. So.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh.
right. Yeah,
Still gotta find
TikTok
that.
So bad.
introduced me to a lot
So
of stuff.
bad.
gotta
It's-
Do it, Joe.
I know you gotta
I
find
watched it. I watched
Same
it.
here.
Don't do it, Joe.
No.
Don't do it.
He
Look, I
wants
gotta-
to see it.
Anyway,
And Kristen Wiig, I mean, I don't think it's a secret that I'm a big fan of hers. I have been for a long time. She's one of my favorite cast members from SNL. She's just hilarious.
Yeah.
But I also think that she's a good actress. And she's beautiful. And I think this movie kind of showcases different sides of her than we're used to seeing. I mean, she's excellent at the character of, Barbara Minerva, because she has played that character a few times in like different movies that were not necessarily comedies. Sometimes they are, but I know she's a good fit for that type of role. But also, I think it's just exciting to see her in more stuff. And yeah, I could see her doing something else. I would like to see her in the Marvel universe too. I'd be fine with that. I think if anything, we could have had more of her in this movie, for sure. And I don't know if maybe we'll see more of her later. I don't know how that works with, I don't want to get into spoilers, but I don't know if that would happen or not. But I would like to see that. So those are my thoughts on the two main castings.
Travis, what do you think?
Yeah, like Lisa pointed out with Pedro, he's like the Mugatu and Zoolander, like so hot right now. Pedro's that's him, and he's all over, and he's great. Wig, I have a different history of as far as SNL. I liked her enough, but sometimes she would. It wasn't her. I just maybe took one too many Gilly skits in my life that took me like I would check out. Sometimes she would be on, but I always liked her.
Really?
I liked her in SNL, but when I saw her in Bridesmaid, that was great. And Skeleton Twins, that was great. And I was somebody that was like, I don't know how I feel about her in this role. I think she did well, but any problems I have is more writing. And I agree with Lisa. I don't think there was enough of her. And I think she did better than I was expecting, because I always worried, could I get past seeing Kristen Wiig? Because she does the kind of comedy shtick a little bit at the beginning, but I don't think it was like a massive breakout, like, oh, she really stepped out of the shadow of Kristen Wiig, not because of her acting ability. I think it's just they didn't write it deep enough. And Pedro, he's just chewing the scenery. He's literally like, I'm going to play a comic villain, and that's what he does. He's very hamming up, but I think it kind of works with the 80s vibe and what they're going for. So any problems I kind of have with them are maybe lack of screen time or maybe fleshing out of certain storylines or character connections. So nothing wrong as far as their castings. And yeah, I'll you can kind of put them in anything, especially Pedro's just on a roll right now. So that's my thoughts on those two.
Joe?
I agree. They both, I like them both. There's really nothing else I can say. The only thing I didn't like, the only scene I didn't like with them in it was that he was hamming it up just before Diana came in, and he was like playing around with Barbara Minerva, and they were just joking and laughing. Like that didn't seem. I get why he was doing it, and we'll get into spoilers later. I'm trying to do it without spoilers, but it just that's the only scene that didn't of that connection that didn't work with me. There's some other scenes, but that scene right there, him hamming it up so hard, was my only takeaway from it. Other than that, I loved Pedro as Max. I loved Kristen as Barbara. I thought they both did a really good job.
Chris?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think both. I think this really shows Kristen Wiig getting the opportunity to kind of stretch how talented she really is. I'm with Travis on this one, that my qualms with her portrayal has to do with what was shown versus what we didn't see, and I think that was a big detriment to what I really would have been an even bigger breakout role at that point for her. Pedro Pascal, I've been a fan since Narcos. I think he is a outstanding actor. I think this was a very different role for him, but by no means did he basically doubled down on what was given to him and really just, went for it at that point. I think some people would say there was scenes like a lot of overacting. I think it wasn't my Maxwell Lord by any stretch, in the sense of like what I'm used to of Maxwell Lord in the comics, but that's okay. I'm not going to be doing # not my Maxwell Lord, but it was the character and the way the movie was done. He did a very good job for what that character was supposed to do in this movie.
I can agree with that, Chris. That's probably where my thinking is with it too.
Clay, what'd you think?
I was sent here on a mission because before this review, we actually listened to Travis over on Geekverse, and me and my wife were unpacking and doing some stuff, and she heard Travis say that Kristen Wiig was only a comedian and only been in like comedies, and she's like, "No, she's not. She has not only been in comedies. And she's like, you better go on to that review and let them know. And I was
Don't
like,
throw the Martian in my
ma'am.
face.
Yes,
Don't-
yes, ma'am.
There you go.
You know?
There you go.
So this is probably the only review of ours that my wife will ever listen to, just so that way she knows that I did this. But I agree with Lisa saying that Kristen Wiig definitely should have probably been in the film more, and we will get into that more when it comes to spoilers. But I enjoyed her Barbara, her other persona and all of that stuff. Again, spoilers, we will talk about that later. But Pedro Pascal, I definitely get where people are thinking about the overacting and everything else. There are very, very similar characteristics to a very, prominent person right now. And so I totally get it, just a little bit. And so I totally get
Not
it.
huge.
This is my
Huge.
but yeah, I enjoyed his performance. I have been seeing him everywhere. Apparently he dropped another Netflix movie where he is a veteran superhero. I
Mhm.
didn't hear about this until like just a few hours ago. I'm probably going to watch it right after this.
I don't know if it's what you think. It's the sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl. So
Oh, he's in that. That's the one. Oh, it's
Oh,
okay,
Is
never
that
mind.
is that the
Oh
one?
my
I thought
that's
it
the
was?
movie. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
movie.
the
Dang
Yeah.
it! Never mind.
I watched the first 15 minutes, and even my daughter walked out of the room. I was like, "Okay, we're not doing this." But it's cute, dude. If you have any nostalgia for Spy Kids, yeah, you can fill in that hole.
I was
so
gonna say it does very much look like that vibe.
it's
but-
very much. It's exactly like that. Yeah.
Did Rodriguez direct that one too?
I
Yep.
believe so.
But
Wow.
he has been everywhere, and it's awesome. I am sure that we will see him even more probably in another blockbuster film. So as long as he's still my Mandalorian, I'm okay with that. And as far as like the whole not my Maxwell Lord, I chopped it up to he was kind of our Maxwell Lord, but we'll get into that when we get into
Yeah.
spoilers.
Okay. Sarah, what'd you think?
I liked them. I mean, of course, there was the elephant in the room of the Mandalorian because even we kind of looked at each other like,
Hmm.
"That's Mando. That's
Yep.
Mando." But I mean, because like I said, he's everywhere right now. So once you kind of get past that, you don't really want to typecast anybody. But when you already have that in your head, even with seeing the one or two trailers I did because I tried to stay away from that. So it's just like, okay, well, I'm trying to look past that. And I don't know, that's just me. Sometimes things, it's my old brain. Things just get stuck in my head but once I got past that, and then I was like, it's 1984.
Mhm.
It is 1984. Kristen Wiig fits in perfectly. Like her as Barbara, yes, she was I get that character because I feel like I've been that character at
Same.
some point in life. So
Same.
you're just like, hi, you just talked to me. Oh, what? And Pedro Pascal's character, Maxwell Lord, yes. I mean, he very much fit a 80s persona, that whole stick. I mean, it was just, that's the only thing I'm like, the costumes just fit them fantastically. And they just brought a lot. Yes, I would have liked to see more of Barbara and her story. Like I said, hopefully that'll come later, which I'm really, really excited for. But I'll get into that a little bit later with spoilers. But for the most part, I think they were good. I think everybody was casted really well. And like I said, I didn't have issues with any of the casting. That was not my issues.
Okay.
So I thought it was great. I feel like everybody brought their A game. And like I said, I was, when I heard about Kristen Wiig as being Barbara Minerva, I was like really curious to see how they would introduce her because I know a little bit of the backstory on that character. So, I mean, I thought it was interesting. And I mean, she had a good development. So, I mean, I can't say too much. And I do love Kristen Wiig. I mean, anything she's in, I think it's just fantastic. I mean, she's gonna go a long way from being the Target lady.
Target.
Okay, so I guess just me. I love both the castings. I thought it did a great job. When I first heard Pedro or Maxwell Lord speak, I did hear Mandalorian.
Mhm.
It pulled me out for just a second.
Yes.
but it didn't stick with me, and I got over it, so it wasn't a big deal. And I think both of these characters did a great job acting in this, as far as maybe the writing wasn't as good as it should have been, or they may have needed to be in there a little more, or a little more backstory with either one of them. But they both did a really good job portraying the role, because they both of them make you feel kind of like you were saying there, Sarah, where you've been there before.
Mhm.
Like, and they make you feel like that, and they make so I did think they both did a great job with that. I was surprised with Kristen Wiig. I thought it was I didn't think she was going to do a terrible job, but I really didn't know what to expect, and I think she nailed it. I think she did a really, really good job. I enjoyed her portrayal of the character, and my wife didn't really like Pedro's portrayal of Maxwell Lord, but she said it was too over the top. But I told her I think it's what he's going for. He's going for the really over the top. So if that's what he's going for, which I feel like he was, he nailed it with that. So I enjoyed it with those characters. Anybody else got anything they want to say about those characters? And then we'll take a break and get into spoilers otherwise.
I'm ready to get in spoilers.
Get into spoilers. I think we are too.
Just dance around it for another hour.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we need to make
Longer.
Nathan wait on this one.
Yeah, I got to debate Clay's wife. Clay, get your wife in here. No.
All right, cool. Well, folks, once again, we're an ad-supported network. We're going to take a real quick break, come back, and then we're going full spoilers. So we'll be back in 3, 2, 1. All right, we're back. So let's talk spoilers. I've got kind of a list here laid out, and we can go in any kind of order you want to. I'll just kind of start to walk down the list, and whatever scores we chase in that list will be fine. So let's talk about some scenes, and I'll start this one off. I want to talk about the Themyscira scene, opening scene of the movie. I loved it. I really did. There were a little things here and there, the acrobatics and everything. I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy, but you got to suspend the belief a little bit. But the little girl, the little girl who plays Diana.
That can't happen.
Yeah, the little girl. Who
Wait,
plays
there
Diana
is no
was-
island full of women?
Right.
Dang it.
I will move there.
Yeah,
I want to be an
would too.
Amazon.
I definitely would
I want
too.
to be an Amazon.
Yeah.
I'll point you to a few islands in Greece. It's pretty darn close.
I want to be an Amazon. Do you see these? Do you see these right here? Yeah, I'm already ready.
There you go.
Training. Yeah.
Gotta be prepared. But I thought they did that scene really well. I love the look of it. I think the little girl who plays young Diana, I love the emotion in her face. She did a great job. It like brought a tear to my eye looking at her cry like that, because I have daughters and I've seen them like that, and I hate seeing that kind of face. But she did a great job portraying it. When I saw that scene, I was like, "Oh, this movie is going to be awesome." And then we got to the next scene. So I'll just start with that, and let me hear y'all's thoughts on the Themyscira scene. So I'd start with I'll just go and Sarah, you start us off this time.
Oh man, that was fantastic, because I wanted more Amazons even from the first movie. I thought they looked fantastic. I'm like, I want to see what they're able to do, and to see, and I mean, and that's part of Dinah's backstory anyways, because didn't she like fight to kind of she competed with all the other Amazons too to find her place. So I mean, it was just fantastic. And this movie, that's where it kind of starts with the whole theme that just weaves all throughout it. It's like with, what's it, Antiope? Robin Wright Penn's character, when she tells her, it's like, you need to be able to be truthful. You need to know your truth, because here's a little girl. She's like, look, well, I won. Why did you stop me? I was here. She's like, you did not complete, you didn't go through all the steps. So even though you are as fantastic and as powerful and as, as athletic as the rest of them, you still have to do things correctly. You still have to, yeah. So, I mean, you can't cheat. In essence, that's what she did. I mean, she missed the one
Marker.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to happen, because, what did Antiope tell her to begin with? It's like, look forward, just be mindful of everything. And of course, here she is worrying about what's everybody's behind her. And then of course, she hits the tree branch. Even my kids were like, ooh, saw that coming.
Keep your eyes on the road. It's a good lesson.
Exactly. Absolutely. So that was kind of interesting that, that was one of life's little lessons that she learned early. And then of course it goes into the,
Uh-oh. Did we freeze up?
Big cliffhanger.
It goes into the what?
What is she
I
gonna
know.
say?
Yeah, I'll just
Oh, wait,
go.
all right, go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, because yeah, I really liked it. It's kind of 1A and 1B with my highlight of the film. I think many people have echoed this that I could take a whole spin-off movie of this. And I know they've talked about those Amazons, but I literally could just take like the Olympic Games on Themyscira, like that was it was shot well. It had some great set pieces, some pacing. So I think that was really well done. And yeah, most of the stuff on Themyscira in the first movie and this have really worked out. And I think that I do share the same sentiment with everyone that I hope with this third one that we do go back there a lot more and in present day, just because I think it kind of has that Thor effect where I feel like after Thor Dark World, people are like, okay, I really just want Thor to be traveling different planets and space. I feel like people are now feeling that with Wonder Woman. Like I after especially that scene, which I feel many people feel like it's a highlight. We want more of that. And I think there's a chance we'll get more of it, but I thought it was very well done from start to finish. And it was one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
Chris, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I think if it's not my top sequence of the movie, it's basically I'm still trying to think of which one comes up, but I mean, to start off this, I purposely did not watch like when they put out the opening scene. I know I could watch it in all its glory. I wanted to see it just straight through. I avoided it at that point, and I'm so glad I did. I mean, the cinematography being done, this truly was one. If this was the only scene we saw in IMAX and that was the money they put into it, yes, that was amazing. Hans Zimmer's Themyscira score. I mean, the score throughout the whole thing, but this is my favorite track on the album. I mean, it is up there with Ideal of Hope, Beautiful Lie. It is something I can, Flight from Man of Steel. It's just one of those that, man, it gets you pumping throughout the whole thing, whatever they have. And my wife, when we were watching on Christmas evening, she was just pointing out, and it's true, even in the first one, the amazing physique and physical capabilities that they cast these Amazons. I mean, these are legit, athletes within their own right. And they definitely showed it. Yes, I know the physics and things like that. Yes, movie will suspend belief, but if anyone could do it, these women can. And I really enjoyed seeing kind of that basically the feats of strength. We'll take that from Festivus at that point, but that's the different basically things they had to do, and seeing that lesson that was going to be the theme throughout the movie, like. You can't cheat your way through something. Mm-hmm. You have to take the path in front of you. You can't. I once I heard that, I said, all right, we know where we're going with this movie, and that's okay. That's completely fine if that's the setup it was going to be. But I mean, just what a way to, make this scene. And again, like you've said earlier, that young actress is, man, I hope she does some more stuff as she gets older. I hope she sticks with this, because Patty couldn't say enough about, that's her. There is no stunt double. That's her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Me.
Yeah.
Well, she was an equestrian anyways, wasn't she?
Yeah. And she was, like, my wife said, did they recast her? I said, no, she was actually the youngest Diana, but they couldn't use the other one because she was too grown up. She was, this was years removed, so it just wouldn't fit. So.
I didn't know that. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Annuity. Love it.
Yeah.
Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a great way to open the movie. It was beautiful. It pulls you in. And, I think the through line in this film with the theme of telling the truth and why the truth matters, and how, you can't cheat your way somewhere. You have to take all the correct steps, and that's important, is such a, powerful lesson for young Diana. And we get that as the first scene, because that's something that sticks with her whole life. And it's something that she's going to reflect back on later in the film. And, that idea about the truth and doing things the right way happens several times throughout the film. And I really like that, because I think that that's something we're all wrestling with right now. I think we've gotten to a point where we're like, the truth is subjective. We don't know, right? And so it's kind of cool to have a superhero film that's like so focused on that, which, in real life, I think it's probably more complicated than this film maybe makes it seem. But I like that idea about, that's who Wonder Woman is, right? She's got the lasso of truth, and that's a big hallmark of that character. So making that a focal point in the movie makes a lot of sense. And I think the first scene is like a really good way to set that up.
Clay, what'd you think?
There was an interview with Patty Jenkins, and she said that the first scene, the mascara scene, was something that she never wanted in the film. I can kind of see how that goes, because she said that she didn't want to go back to her past, even, because we're just trying to move forward. But the studio said you had to choose that one or the mall scene that we're going to have to talk about next. But somehow they both ended up in the scene. I disagree with the story told in the Themyscira scene. I don't think she cheated. She just missed the mark. She completed the race without the mark. So I don't think she cheated. That's me personally. And I think it was just kind of forced to throw in the, truth trumps over lies type of thing. Did she necessarily know that there was another marker? Maybe, probably, but she just wanted to finish the race. So that's just me, but I do love the aesthetic. I will say that I almost feel like we saw 3 different films: the mascara scene, the mall scene, and then the rest of the movie. All felt like 3 separate things.
Okay.
As far as like cinematography, the way it was paced, and everything else. But the mascara scene was probably the better looking ones out of everything for me personally.
Joe, what do you think, bud?
I really enjoyed the Themyscira scene. Out of curiosity, did they name all of the other combatants that she was going up against?
Not that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
I'd
So
have to go back into the credits and see if they've even been named.
and I didn't look
No,
at those.
they only named them as competitors.
Okay,
Oh,
because I could swear the one standing next to her probably could have been Artemis. Which,
That's what I
if
thought.
that's the case, she would be a perfect maybe antagonist. Maybe not like full on villain, but antagonist for the third movie.
She kind of looked
Kinda.
at Diana
And
like,
yeah.
you stupid pipsqueak, why are you even
Kinda.
here?
And it
like,
doesn't
she
even have to
kind of
go-
looked at
they-
her kind of.
They don't have to go back to Themyscira. She could just pop up, maybe do a quick thing, quick talk about it. I don't know. I like the race. Sarah, you said that Sarah or Lisa, I can't remember which, said something along the lines of how she became Wonder Woman, like the trials that she went through. It was reminiscent of that, even though it's not that trial, because we didn't get it in the first film. But it was nice to see it play out. And she did cheat, Clay. She was gonna win by not doing everything she was supposed to do. That's
No,
cheating.
because they would have said, hey, you don't win because you missed the mark.
So
And then
cheating.
she would have been like,
She
oh,
cheated.
crap, that sucks.
Nope, cheated.
That's not cheating.
But she
That's
was still a
not
child.
cheating.
You got to think
Debatable.
about when you're a
Debatable.
kid that age. I mean, you don't
Evening
think
out the
about
No,
universe.
I totally
get you. No, I
understood.
get you. I
I
get you.
totally understood the essence of her being like, that's not fair. Life's not fair. And then the lesson that can come through with that.
Yeah.
Because, that comes further from, her not wanting to let go. And like I said, we'll talk about that later. I understand that part. But the whole truth versus lie, I think, was very much forced.
Fair point. Yeah, I think we all agree that even with different viewpoints of how we took the way the lesson was, I think the Themyscira scene was obviously one of everybody one of their favorite scenes. I'm not gonna say your favorite scene, but we enjoyed it. It was pretty good, and it's interesting to hear that Patty Jenkins wasn't even going to put it in there. It's even more interesting to hear that she had to have a choice with this or the mall scene, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, because the following scene, I feel, just me personally, is the worst scene in the movie. Absolutely hated this scene. I've got things about this that actually, I'll just go ahead and talk about.
well, one thing before you get to that, it's interesting. She didn't want this scene, but I don't know if everyone remembers the story that she had to fight to get the trench sequence in.
Yeah.
Right?
To keep it in Wonder Woman,
Okay.
which is the
That's
pivotal
An essential, that's
moment.
the scene
Everyone
I
loved
cried
the
over.
first
I mean,
movie. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
I
So,
cried during that scene.
Beautiful scene.
Anyways, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. This scene, look, after what is it, 9 times we've seen Spider-Man on film now, and we've seen successful
boy,
web
here we go.
slinging. Somebody please
Oh,
show
I
them how to
sent this-
display her slinging from her whip, because I'm it's believable that she can do it. It just doesn't
They
look
showed
good on
it.
screen.
They showed it in the Themyscira scene. They kind of like, hey, remember this because it's going to be in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw
Well,
that.
She
one
always
scene where
does
she
the
whips
knee up
arrow.
and the hand
Yeah.
up thing. Yeah, and then like you don't the whole time you're zooming, it's not going to be. So that kind of bothered me. I didn't like the thieves. I guess in game, because okay, there's the one who gets away and he grabs the little girl and he runs over and he holds her over the ledge.
Oh, he does the Michael Jackson? Yeah.
Yo, what's your
Yeah.
end game? Like seriously, because like you can't leave while you have her hold over the ledge, which is your only leverage. As soon as you pull her off from the ledge to try to get away, if you were going to, you're going to get caught. So
Greg,
what-
you've never
I mean,
robbed
it's
a
still a
bank.
hostage.
You don't know what's going through your mind.
I think it's
Oh, yeah.
still the
Yeah.
the essence of a hostage, and like he's willing to let her go, and then
Yeah.
he doesn't have a hostage anymore. So either way, he's kind of.
Desperation.
yeah, I mean, I
That's
guess so.
another thing
I
You're
mean,
right,
you
in that
don't think
moment,
straight
you
when you're
understand.
desperate. That's
I also
true.
like how he's running past his friend. He's like, "Jigs up, man. We gotta go." And the guy's just like, "What? Don't give me up."
Right. Yeah.
Again, a lot of this sequence screams Richard Donner Superman, and just
Oh, yeah.
just bad campy.
This was
criminals
the
and
cafe.
burglars.
This was the cafe scene.
Mhm.
This was the burglar on the building scene.
Yep.
This was like all of that stuff kind of pushed together. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what it is. I just didn't like, especially at the end, how she captures them and they fall from the sky high enough where the four of them are going to crush a car, but none of them are hurt. It's like,
but it's the
come on.
80s. Like,
Yeah,
I think you
they had
have
weak
to
cars.
put
They're probably like
this
putting shoulder
under
pads and
that
No, those
lens.
things were
Fanny pack.
steel in the 80s.
You know what?
No,
They
no,
probably
but
were on
I mean-
cocaine. They would have
Oh
survived.
yeah, cocaine
No,
is
I
a
mean-
huge
I mean,
buffer.
80s films and the way that
Oh, I
they
got you.
treated action and the way that they treated their bad guys and the way these hostage situations went down. To me, that whole scene is parroting that.
Mhm.
At least
Okay,
for
I never
me.
thought about it like that.
And that's
Yeah,
what
I-
with
I
Lisa,
thought-
where like so many people have been like, oh well, it's exactly like that. But I feel like then she was successful in doing the scene because it invoked those emotions. And like, it's two things. One, like, do whatever you want to on social media, but I don't get why it's such a big hang up, the swinging. I really don't. For me, I don't understand
don't
it.
care
It's just
either.
like it's just the thing. And this is like whatever, man. I'm stirring the pot. I find the people that absolutely love Snyder and love Man of Steel and BVS, those are people that just like, and maybe some of you are included, hate this mall scene. Like, oh, it's one of the worst. It's just like a fine little action set piece that maybe is a little cheesy, yeah, but it's like I think it was going for exactly what she wanted it to happen. And that's where I find so far, whether it's been reviews I've listened to or conversations I've had or tweets, it's just like it seems like people that are heavy in that camp. I'm not saying they're shit on the whole movie, but just like it's not for them. And I think that just comes down to what you do as far as taste. I don't think this was a great scene, but I think it was like a good, like, okay, she's saving some people. We're setting up that she's been, contradicting BVS in my opinion, that she has been active. She's doing all this stuff and she's still
That's something that I want to bring up though.
We're going
Yeah.
to. Oh, yeah.
So the idea of her being hidden wasn't really played, like she wanted to be hidden because she destroyed all the cameras.
She took out all three cameras, Clay.
But
all three in the whole mall.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
that's a lot
It was,
in the 80s.
it was
Yeah.
awesome. I mean,
yeah, that's
money.
$1,000.
No one's got
exactly.
cell phone
But
cams
like
back
that
then.
does like her using it as a boomerang is awesome.
That
Like,
is awesome.
I
like that.
I genuinely wanted to see it more.
Mhm.
But my problem is that was not prominent enough in the film to make it a point in the beginning of the film.
No, because she was
So I
all
was-
over. She's seen by thousands of people.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel like they've thrown that out the window. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm happy they did.
and
I am happy.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe not, and we'll talk about I got a thought process. We'll talk about that later.
But also,
get
did
there.
you see how Wonder Woman was not okay with people, about to run over this woman, but she was totally fine with shoplifters.
I don't know if
mean,
she's
She
totally fine,
saved the
but-
woman in the wedding gown,
Mhm.
but she didn't capture the shoplifters.
Well, two people were about to get killed, so or seriously injured. I'll take that.
I'm just saying. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. Everybody's a criminal here. I'm just saying.
It's the
It's the
80s
80s.
again.
yeah, I
I've got some
think
thoughts
that
about
this
that later.
movie,
Yeah.
is this scene is like under the lens of like a child being wowed by a superhero. Like
Mhm.
that's how I took the scene, because it's such low stakes. Like, why would Wonder Woman be wasting her time at this mall, like capturing burglars? Like that does seem kind of ridiculous. But then when you think about like Superman, and you talked about this, Chris, but I think it's intentional in that they kind of want the filmmaker wants to always remind us that these heroes are also for children, like the little girls being wowed by everything that Wonder Woman's doing and how it makes them feel and how they feel so special and involved and close to her in that moment. That's that whole scene for me. I agree that I think, Clay, you were saying that sometimes this movie feels like the Themyscira scene and then this scene and then other parts of the movie. It does feel like different movies, and I get that. I think that Patty just never wants to forget that, you know, Wonder Woman is kind of a hero for little girls too. And so I don't know.
and
I like that
it
about
wasn't
Yeah, that's
confirmed,
important.
but Gail Simone said that the little girl that was rescued in the mall scene was very similar to like one of the one shots that she wrote, and it almost looks like identical. So I would,
cool.
you know, just small little Easter egg there.
Nice.
And to the point about the, you know, the retconning of, you know, what she said in BVS, and I've moved on from that. I've accepted.
I would be okay with moving on, but they made it a point to destroy cameras, and then they moved on.
I'm with
here's-
Clay on that one.
but-
Yeah,
but
go
that's
ahead, Chris.
that's fine. But you know, at this point, you know, I can get hung up on that all day and long. But you know what? In the end, it is what it is. Whatever. At this point, there are a lot more egregious things I can get hung up on, and that one I'm just going to let pass at this point.
Yeah, so people are getting mad about her, this whole scene, her not being hidden. Did everybody forget that Gamora was the survivor of her race, and yet in Infinity War we saw half her race survive? Like people just are okay with that because it's Marvel.
I honestly, I didn't even remember that, to be honest.
I think that's the thing. Like, to be
That's the
honest,
point.
I love
didn't remember.
Gamora, but Gamora is like this, like,
But that's what I'm
has
saying. Like
risen.
people don't focus on that, but they'll give Marvel a pass. Which, don't get me wrong, Marvel has earned their pass.
Here we
And
go.
I know I'm trying to make people angry. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I love DC movies. Like
Hmm.
this one, you
See-
can make it work. Yes, she busted the cameras to hide herself in the mall. Yeah, she's being seen by 1,000 people. But if you don't know who she is, all you got is a woman dressed in the American flag. Okay. She gets seen around the world, but nobody has any way to document her. So you could kind of maybe play off that she was hidden. She didn't walk away. Sure, she was still around, and this movie is proving that. But she didn't let injustices go either.
Well, I think
Not to
that's
the scale of, you know, a world war, but
I think that's the two things as far as like, I think it's tough when you say like people give Marvel pass, because I don't think anyone here said, you know what, the Gamora thing's fine. Like, I wouldn't say that, because it's like, yeah, it's a plot hole, but I think the thing is with Gamora versus a Wonder Woman, Gamora is a much smaller stakes character that people didn't care about at that point, where Wonder Woman, it
True.
was her debut. And I think for people in that film at first, just to hear that she had, it's like the Captain America thing, right? And this is where I will say Marvel, people say, I don't like the Endgame ending, because if he went to be happy with Peggy, he's just choosing not to help people. He's choosing not to save crime. That's not Captain America. So I've seen people throwing that complaint at Endgame lot, saying like, he's a coward now if he's not doing anything. And I think some people, and I never felt that way, but felt with Wonder Woman saying, hey, this one event happened and I walked away. And I think that's the thing where I agree with Chris. There's little, it's not a thing that I'm fine with them walking away, but I feel like there's a lot of revisionist history now. Like, well, she says she walked away, but she was probably around the whole time saving people. Where in BVS, I feel like it's a clear intention, like, no, something really bad happened and she's not going to be a hero for a while. And this brought her out of it. And I never liked that personally. I like that them just ignoring it. And that's where I think with Clay, I'm with, as far as they make a big point at the beginning, like, okay, they are going to like, will be very secretive, but then it's just full on. She's everywhere, and it's fine. It's a thing, but it's kind of just, you know,
Like,
fun social media banter.
I almost thought, like, is it because she doesn't wear a mask that like they kind of wanted to play around with it, but
Mhm.
like that was never talked about either. So I was just like, whatever.
It's interesting.
I,
And
don't know, I just think that even though she's
also
everywhere,
to Chris's thing, like I forgot about it immediately after the mall scene. Like it wasn't until I started to analyze it that I'm like, oh, well, okay, there's something. So.
But even though she's everywhere, like I said, people aren't, toward the end of the movie when everything is just in chaos and she is injured and Steve is helping her walking through, no one's paying her any attention. They have their own things to worry about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I feel like everybody at the time is in the world worried about themselves. Yeah, in the
It's
mall.
1984.
people
She's a
are
woman,
saying-
you know? No, I'm sorry.
Apparently,
Well, like-
every guy is going to hit on her.
And
You know?
it's gotten canceled.
Okay.
I was joking, but
I know.
they did, you know, try. They didn't try. They actually did. They did that a whole lot in the movie. Also, that was something that my
I
wife
think
very
it's
much
safe
picked up
too.
on.
Yeah.
Like when
Mhm.
you put it in another time period, people are okay with talking about sexism, and I think that's why a lot of these movies tend to be time period pieces.
Is that because
that
people want to look at
controversial
it and
to
be like,
say?
well, we're not like that now. We were like that
100%
then, but we're
Greg.
not like
Yes,
that now.
100%.
Oh, we're better than
Okay.
that,
We're
and we're
better-
not. Like, there's still so many cases of sexism and racism.
Sure,
People,
Jan.
oh no, that was the past. We're completely fine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm.
no, I
It's
agree
like
with Lisa
Oscar
100% on that.
movies that are about,
Yes.
race or gender or whatever, but they always
Mhm.
kind of put it in another time period because that's safe because we can go, well, I'm not that bad.
Well, we've
That's
learned
not us.
from
That's
there.
not us. Yeah.
So I do think that I understand why they keep doing that with these superhero films because they just want to stay away from the controversy, keep the focus on the superhero, but still talk about some social issues. So I can't falter for that. Like I kind of
Mhm.
get why they do that.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say about this mall scene? If not, we'll move on to the next little.
The most
Maybe.
debated scene of 2020. The
Yeah.
fucking
Done with that.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman mall
Exactly.
scene.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is that it was entertaining for what it was. I
Mhm.
don't get,
Yeah.
I did not get hung up on it. I accept this movie for what if you keep it in the context, it's like similar to, okay, if you look at Batman and Robin and Batman Forever as being homages to Batman 66, that's what it is. I accept it for what it is. It's
They
definitely
succeed
not.
at it.
Yeah, they did. That's exactly what it is. So again, she's succeeding in giving us what that was like and giving us. And I like that. I can't remember who said it. Putting the little girls looking up to Wonder Woman. That is so important. And I think, and I don't care if it's heavy handed. I like it. I think it's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's also, it was also a means to an end to get that, front of a jewelry store
Yes.
having the stuff in the back,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is important to the rest of the
Yeah.
movie.
Oh, I have one question about it before we get out of here. The first guy that walks in and like flashes the gun and, says that they're here for the black market stuff in the back. Is that the same guy later that's
The
the FBI
FBI
agent?
I thought the exact same thing.
I even tried to look at the credits.
No way.
I looked at the
No,
credits. It's
I
not
don't
the same
think
guy.
so.
It
It's not
looks
the same guy.
Go back and watch it. I
I thought-
promise you,
I-
it's the exact same guy.
I said it to my wife the
Yeah.
first time we watched it, and then
Yeah.
the second time we watched it right before we started recording, she's like, "Clay, that's not the same guy." I'm like, "It is. It is."
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
Rewound it. I was like, "Look at this guy."
It's
And
your
I
twin
fast-forwarded
brother.
it. I was like,
Twice
"Look."
removed.
I totally get you, Greg. I totally
Right.
get
He
you.
gets his own HBO Max series. I've been looking for my brother committing robbery.
Jeans guy from Mando.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
man.
All right, well let's move on then. Let's talk about the next thing here. Let's talk about Steve Trevor's return. I was
Okay, so I got a question. Why this guy? So Steve Trevor returns.
Mhm.
What
Because
makes,
he was
That's
from
your
what makes
Birds of
question?
the
Prey.
the Hallmark movie guy the guy that he returns into?
Because he was from the old TV show Birds of Prey.
Was he actually?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
he, was,
so
he
funny.
played. He played a villain,
But
like
what?
on,
But no,
it was
no,
like a
not,
villain of the
not
week.
that. What I'm saying is, what makes this guy
plot-wise.
special?
Completely.
Like, right.
I think I took it as
Right.
completely by chance and random that this guy got the Steve Trevor power.
See, and I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping it would have been like, a la Captain America, a
How do you
relative of
sell
Steve
that
Trevor.
role though? How do you
Yeah.
sell
That-
that role? It's like, hey, you're gonna be on screen with Gal Gadot. Oh, really? Yeah,
for
3
20
times.
seconds. Yeah, for
Yeah.
20
Called
seconds.
David
total.
Prowse.
Yeah.
Look, like I said, I said he's the Hallmark guy because he's in all the Hallmark Christmas movies. The guy's
I
got
did
money.
not
He's fine.
realize that.
Oh yeah. All right.
I've been
Well,
watching it
I-
all December.
I've been so
All
busy.
December.
I haven't been
Hey.
able to,
Oh
but I will.
boy, so
But-
sorry, Joe.
But
it's so
for real,
lot
there
more
has
actually give me,
been,
so they
there
really
has
are.
been an actual conversation about this whole thing with this random dude with Steve being inside of his body. Travis is already smiling and laughing because you know exactly where we're going.
Just
with
on
this.
paper, it already sounds funny,
Yeah.
It does. It's for me. I wanted to know why couldn't Steve come back from like the moment before he died? You know, like
I
why
think
couldn't
that- yeah.
like time travel? Like I understand that it could have been a little bit more complicated. But immediately when you see the guy and then you see Steve Trevor, you see Chris Pine, my wife completely was like, what happened? What did I miss?
Yeah.
So I got another.
I had to like, thank goodness we were watching at home, paused it, had to explain it to her. And she said, oh, well, that's dumb. Keep the movie going. So
Sarah, you got something?
Sarah, you raising your finger? Yeah.
Yes, I've had this conversation.
Uh-oh.
I think one of the reasons why they put his essence into another person's body and for her to only see his face, I think that just explores the depth of how much she missed him, how deep it affected her, him dying at that point, and for this to be, what, 40 years later?
70.
And for,
70.
or 70 years later. Yeah, sorry. So, I mean, for that to be that much further, for that to affect her as much, it just kind of shows how deep her emotion is. And I think that's one of the things that kind of plays into the further, like towards the plot for the further of the end of the movie, because it's not really face value. It's not Steve, but to her, that's what she sees. You know, it's just like when he looks in the mirror and he's just like, oh, I'm like, and she's like, I only see you. So that's what got me. It wasn't the fact it was like another dude. Yeah, it was face value. But for me, the entire movie, a lot of this, what you feel and what you're trying to get, you cannot take its surface value. You have to look beneath.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I guess a lot of times, like some of the stuff I just kind of glossed over because I'm like, I'm looking a little bit deeper because I felt like this movie was a little bit deeper than your typical superhero movie. And that was one of the issues because I was waiting for a lot of people to be like, oh, well, it's this dude. And she's like, just sleeping with this random guy. To her, it's not a random guy. To her, that's Steve. That's who she sees.
Nobody can use that as an excuse. Well, it wasn't who I thought it was.
So,
You know,
Wow.
It's not who I
Jeez.
imagined it to be, so it was okay.
But that's what I'm saying. But you're not Diana. You're
That's
not
true.
Diana. You're not in her head. You don't understand her thought process. I mean, and that's the thing about it for me. And I don't want to get feminist or anything, but to me, this was a female superhero movie. It just has a different, it's not in your face. It's not, we're going to fight these big bads and we're just go toe to toe. To me, it was a lot more subtle. There's a lot more subtlety in this movie.
so Sarah,
Yeah.
I had two questions then. So for the guy, I get what you mean as far as she sees Steve. What happens to the regular guy's free will?
I don't know.
That's-
That
okay.
was the weird
That's what I
thing.
wondered.
And like
Yeah.
I said,
And two-
it didn't make sense. I mean,
Because my thing is, the fact that we didn't see in the trailers was great because the whole scene, like figuring out what's going on. I think in concept, it was a fun idea and it was a good twist. And I know there are people are going to bring up other thing about his free will. That's not my biggest thing. My biggest point was I was kind of disappointed with both Diana and Steve that if they could have kept the wish, they would have just thrown this guy's life aside. Steve
Right.
Trevor,
well, even
Yeah.
I mean, even Steve makes the point. You know, when I guess I get back to his apartment, he's just like, I've
Why
been
couldn't you
cleaning
just
this
have
guy's
this guy?
apartment? You know,
Yeah.
and it's-
Well, he does make the point also. It's like you need to let me go. And she's like, oh, I can't talk about this. I can't talk about this. And
Mhm.
And
and
that's
he says, why can't you just have this guy? And
Mhm.
that's when she says, I don't want him. I want you. And
Yeah.
I know that goes along with the overall narrative of the story. I understand that. But Travis does make a good point. If, there wasn't the monkey's paw, and I know this is a really stupid
Mhm.
debate because that's the whole point of the movie, but they were literally okay with like, hey,
hijacking this
we
guy's
might
life.
have killed this guy. So
yeah.
cool.
And because
Yeah.
I thought, like Clay will know this because I told this on Geek First, but it's just like I thought the MacGuffin for Steve's realization was going to be that where he goes, I've had my time. I can't take this guy's life. I got to go back. But it wasn't that. It was like, oh, you're going to die. We shouldn't do this. It wasn't they didn't come to realization like, hey, this guy, where is he? Like, what's happening with him? It was like, no, to save the world. So it was, I think I liked what they were going for. I just think
Mhm.
maybe they should have went. And it sounds
Thought
cheap.
a little bit deeper to how they're because you have somebody else that you're affecting. It's not just them two. It's not just
Yeah.
Steve and Diana. You have taken over this other guy's body
Which
and life.
the whole story, when you look at the entire movie, the ending and everything, it is about the other people, but
Mhm.
they themselves literally throw that third guy just like out the window. They don't
Yeah.
even think
Right.
about him until like randomly.
I
Yeah.
think the third guy thing is it's goofy. I don't think they
Mhm.
should have done it at all.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think they thought that one through very well.
Yeah,
Which is
so
why I
to-
said, why couldn't it
like-
have been just like a simple time jump?
right. In the trailer right away, I was like, Steve Trevor's not back. He died.
Yeah.
Because they kept showing in the trailer like, oh, you can get whatever you want from this. I mean, they kind of let you in on the plot, I thought,
Mhm.
from the trailer. So I knew he
Same.
wasn't going to be back. I think by introducing this other guy and, he's embodying him, I think the problem with that is this discussion right now is that we all get lost in like, oh, well, what
Mhm.
about his free will? And why didn't
Mhm.
they care about, and it's like,
Mm.
we're not supposed to focus on that. So they probably
Mm-hmm.
just shouldn't have done that, because I kind of felt like maybe they did that. They thought it would be too confusing. Like, well, how did he get this apartment? And how is he here?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter though, because that stone gave you whatever wish you wanted. So like,
It
gloss
didn't
over
care who
that.
it
Yeah.
stepped on in the way. So maybe that was
Right.
the situation. It was like,
E-
you get what you want, regardless of
I-
anybody else's feelings.
And
You
you
get a
know,
dead boyfriend, and you get
focused
a dead
on-
boyfriend.
Yeah.
Even though I would
Yeah.
love to see the marriage story version of this movie where there was no big war and it was just them like 5 years later realizing like, man, like what did like the guy's mother shows up and they're like, did we screw this guy's life over? And they start like fighting and get divorced. Like I'd love to see just the like romantic drama version of nothing bad happened, but they're like, man, did we screw up on this one?
Yeah.
And
Well, that's one of
Right.
those things like when a movie, when you're starting, throwing a script together, it's sometimes you can kind of overthink it or not
Yeah.
think it through. And
Yeah.
I think this was one of those little,
All I will say,
loopholes
it
where-
created a beautiful meme with Soul, and I sent it to Travis earlier
Ah.
today.
it's pretty
So
good.
if anybody wants it, I can send it to you guys. It's awesome.
Oh, I got that
That's
one.
very
Yep.
good. Yeah.
I had somebody at work today ask me that had seen the movie, and they asked me a point about. It seems like Wonder Woman has been the what women, their hero to look forward to, look up to, and what you want to be, female empowerment and everything else. In this movie, it seems like you have that woman who's giving everything up and pining over a guy, which is exactly the opposite of what the
No.
female empowerment and everything is, right?
No, not any
I
more
had
than
somebody ask me that,
Superman
but- huh?
in Lois Lane. I mean, I think this is
Mhm.
following that model, and her
Yeah.
motivation is love and her love for other people. So I don't think she ever was going to throw herself away for Steve. It was just about her healing past that relationship. But like,
Okay.
if Superman can be hung up on Lois Lane forever, then I think Wonder Woman can be hung up on Steve Trevor.
100%. And
That's
like,
true. Even
and
even
like-
though she only knew Steve Trevor for what, like a week and a half?
but
True.
the-
She doesn't have a
You
lot to
know? So,
But the
they
She
went
went
through a
to
lot of stuff,
war for
okay?
him.
I will
Greg.
never love
She
again.
went to war for him.
That's
I
true.
like I think the counter was, and like I saw Lisa you talking about on Twitter today, is like I think women superheroes get under a microscope a lot more than men because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole trilogy
Yeah, that's a
is
good
about,
point.
I'm overly in love with MJ and I can't live without her. Christian, and this is why people may hate Christian Bale's Batman when he quits. The whole reason he wants to stop the crime in Gotham so he can go and be with Rachel Dawes. And when Rachel Dawes dies, that's the reason he sits around for 8 years and does nothing. So I think it's like I think in the females, because it is supposed to be, it's supposed to be empowerment and whatnot, there's so many male examples of like they're completely driven by love and romance in the females, but the females under this microscope
That's a
kind of
good
get
point.
that. So I think it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Like there's so many just little, like look at Dark Knight Rises. He runs away with Selena Kyle. He know her for a week. And like she also gave him to Bane to break his back, but she's like, you know what? I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this woman.
Wait,
You know, it's just like
he didn't die in the Batwing?
what?
Oh,
Not
no.
well, no, not yet. No, but yeah,
Spoilers.
I
Spoilers.
see why people may think that, but if you think about like just the legacy of comic book movies in general, heroes throwing everything away for the person they love is kind of like it's a big trope. It's not.
Trope,
It's a
yeah.
trope that maybe
It's
I'm
like
kind
their
of.
one
It's
weakness.
actually it is a big
Yeah.
trope. It's in it's in the comic books. It's in
Yep.
they put it in
It's
the movies for a
Spider-Man
reason.
2.
Mhm.
Oh
And
yeah.
it
Bring your
connects them
Spider-Man
to
2, Clay.
humanity,
Why would
like
you bring that up?
especially for Wonder Woman or Superman, they're not human, and
Mhm.
so their connection to their loved one makes them human in some ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But
And we can relate to that. I can't relate to flying, but I can relate to have my heart broken. And that's why I think love isn't so much in these movies.
yeah,
I think this was one, I agree. This was something that until I started thinking about it on the second rewatch, I was like, oh, I didn't really think about it like that. That's interesting. Probably for us that kind of analyze this left and right may have not been the best decision in the sense, but it's one of those things that you just kind of hope the audience doesn't really dig too deep into it. But again, we're not those kind of people that,
Oh, we got
j-
double
just-
stated or digging.
but I think I did enjoy seeing the reversal from the first one with him being the fish out of
Yeah.
water. Those were fun. Even though some of the sequences were blown during the trailer, that is what it is, including the end of Steve Trevor, which it's like, oh great, why did we put that in there? We know what's happening at that point. But I liked seeing Chris Pine. I think he does awesome with the role.
They just have really good chemistry together.
They do.
Mm-hmm. Do.
And I think one of my problems with it was his leaving her. That it's a great scene, definitely pulled on my heartstrings at that point, but then all we do is we see her run off and see him say and hear him say the last line, and that's it. We don't see what happens. We don't see the transition.
I genuinely wanted her to like try to see him again, and all she saw was the other guy. That's what I wanted.
And I know it was. I know why. I don't know why I didn't talk to Patty Jenkins tonight at that point.
you did.
But
Stop lying to us.
sorry,
Tell the truth.
I wish. But I can gather in the sense of it makes it that much. She is trying to not look back. And
Mhm.
trying to it's already painful enough to say goodbye to him. And yes, his line of saying, I'm already gone.
That is
That
the
hits-
best line of
Yes,
the
that-
entire
Yeah,
movie.
gave me
Yes,
chills.
that I totally get it. I just, from another thing is like this was a theme of some of my criticisms of like certain things we did not see that
Mhm.
I wanted to see either more of or wanted to see.
Right.
But I
think that
get it is so much more impactful the way they did it, but I
Mhm.
miss it. So
I don't
Yeah.
think it would have made that much more if you did see the transition, because I don't think it was really the physical from him leaving that body to seeing that body. You know what I mean? I think it was just more
I think it
of
was just more
her choice. It was like, okay, because it was such, like I said, the whole sequence throughout is there's this guy, and the only thing she sees is Steve Trevor.
Mhm.
And
Well, I-
everybody else sees that face. So when it comes down to the point where she has to let him go, it is almost like okay, I just have to walk away. I've said what I need to say. We've done
Yeah.
what we need to do. I just need to finally, I got to have that closure. And I think that was it was more of the emotional feeling, more of like seeing the physicality of it.
I get that. I mean, yeah, like Steve Trevor's turn, like I said, was a surprise for me. They did a good job not spoiling because I had no idea that it was going to be body possession. It raises other questions, but listening to what y'all are saying, it does also answer a lot of questions that they would have raised otherwise without doing that. So I guess they just picked the lesser of the two evils. That's the way they decided to go with that. But that's what happened. Let's talk about Maxwell Lord's motivation, because this was something that bothered me in the movie. We're going full spoilers here.
Can I say this one thing before?
Yeah.
Okay.
go ahead.
I know everybody's been saying how Maxwell Lord's character, or how Pedro Pascal was like, did anybody really like grasp his desperation?
Yeah,
He's a
I
con
feel
man.
like it's an
Yeah,
act.
he's-
He's a
It
he's a
con
wasn't
con man
just
was
that.
failing.
Yeah,
Well, he was
yeah.
failing. He was
Yeah.
failing at his
Exactly.
con.
And it's
So
like you want to see this strong character, but it's like once I grasp onto that, it's almost like it kind of fell apart for me.
Yeah. And I get that. You're absolutely right. I think people, you either loved or you hated the over the top way of acting he did. Because like I said, my wife hated it. I thought that was what it was kind of was supposed to be. I didn't mind it. So I think that's kind of more along those lines of how he portrayed the character. But I just more mean the writing and his motivation, because okay, like I get he's trying to become powerful and get influence, but he brings it to a point where the world's going to be destroyed. So what is your end game?
Power
Like,
corrupts.
Let-
It's
like,
the
that's
stone.
simple
It's
as
not
that.
him
Absolutely.
at that point, because
Yeah.
that stone did that to everybody. It like literally brought down entire civilization. So I think at some point
yeah.
it's you, and it preys on your weakness, but then it takes over and it's something else. That's kind of how I read it. with
See,
him.
I just
Okay.
want to
I can see
know,
that.
why didn't the ex-wife at that point wish for more child support, man? Like,
Right. Right.
Good
that-
point.
Because she
that-
knew he
that-
didn't have it to give.
Hey, but then he did, he did
Yeah,
for a
true.
while. Now, I don't know exactly the time span of this movie. It seems like it's done within like 2 days or so.
It's got to
I'm
be
not-
like 3 weeks.
I think max a week, probably about 5
Yeah,
days.
that's
Give or
Well, it
take.
has to be
Yeah.
3 weeks because he had Alistair at the beginning, and then later it was his weekend again. Remember?
and he said
But you
how
gotta
many
assume
weekends
it's every other weekend. Yeah.
and then Alistair was like
Oh,
right there.
interesting. Didn't notice
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That was
Huh.
my only
small
question
little,
about that was
small
what-
little detail. I did, looking back at it, yeah, I do understand that. But the whole motivation thing, I know that just like Lisa was saying, he did become the stone at that point, but also power corrupts. Like he did say it at the very end when it was the whole monologue is like, I want more and everybody else wants more. Like that's just what humanity is. And showing that we also have that I told my wife that instant gratification, because you realized from the very beginning, like he wants it now. He wants it. He wants it. He wants it. He wants it. And everything that he was going for, like you said, he was failing the con. He was failing the con, and he was that TV persona,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's
Or
not
Jordan
just an
Belfort.
80s. That was not just an 80s thing. Like you can turn on a YouTube video and you will get an ad with that guy.
Yeah.
You will see
True.
it. You will see that guy
ShamWow.
like even today.
Damn wow, exactly. Yeah.
I
Boom,
think the only
right there.
difference is that I like that part in the movie where Barbara was like, he's from the TV, because in the 80s that was a much bigger
Mhm.
deal. I
Mhm.
mean, it's
Mhm.
now we have all these like YouTube stars and Twitch and like everything like that. So anybody can kind of be famous. But back then it's like being on TV like meant something. It gave you some kind of clout,
Mhm.
Well, and even when he was getting all this power and all these people were lining up to come talk to him, one of the guys was the guy that took his time slot. Like
yeah.
even when he was having all this power, he still wanted his time slot back from this guy. Just it's a know nothing time slot. Like it doesn't matter. But when he gave this guy his wish, he's like, I'm gonna take that time slot that you took from me.
Mhm.
Like that still meant
Mhm.
something to him.
Well, and even as our little Easter egg for us DC Comics fans, Mr. Stagg,
Mhm. Simon
Metamorpho, we it's. I wish we saw something about Metamorpho being developed in the
That would've been
background, but that
cool.
would have been interesting. But anyway,
Nice little-
I did like, like you said, the desperation of him. That is what this is. And if this is the
Mhm.
way, in the comics, Maxwell Lord is a very powerful telepath at that point. So I like the idea of the wishes maybe being that way.
He was
and the-
able to control people
Yeah,
without actually controlling them.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's what I meant from the very beginning of this podcast when I said we kind of got our Maxwell Lord.
and to the point we got the bleeding of the nose,
That
the
was fun.
eyes, the stuff like we
Mm.
got little homages to the Maxwell Lord we see in the comics. But I'm glad, and I don't know where people are coming. They have their reasons, and feel free to let me know why. But I don't feel that this whole movie, people are saying, "Oh, Maxwell Lord should have been," spoiler, neck should have been snapped at the end by Wonder Woman. At that point, it's like that would have been completely in the sense of, yes, from the comics that happened. That's where those two are linked up from. That would be just
The story
everything-
was not calling for
no.
it.
It
No,
was
Reenacting
I
that
not.
steel
I
scene.
legit thought like midway through the second act when they're like, well, we have to stop him, we have to kill him, that was going to happen.
That was
But-
the hint I think they were latching
Correct.
onto.
But
But
then it was
I-
one of those things like, okay, she doesn't know that he's got a kid, but if she were to kill him, she just made this kid an orphan practically. It's obvious. It seems like his mom doesn't
Maxwell
care
Lord
too
was
much
about
about
to
him.
make him an orphan.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah,
He pretty much seems like an
even
orphan
like
right
a
now.
lot of
world
people
of
an
dude,
orphan.
but-
that kid, all he wanted was more time with his son, and he was like, "Don't waste your wish."
Yeah. Ugh.
That's pretty bad.
And-
And, I
and
knew
one-
too. I was like, his son's gonna wish something. I thought that was the way the ending was gonna be. As soon as I saw that, it's like, oh, his son's gonna wish something at the end. That's how it's gonna get defeated. But
one thing I want
quickly went by that.
to say, I can't remember who said it earlier about Patty Jenkins and the opening sequence. That just came up on my one of my feeds saying the studio actually tried to make her choose one or the other, choose either the mall or the Amazons, and she fought to keep both because
Okay.
she saw
okay.
because she saw the importance. We needed to understand. She says, I didn't. That original one where they were more asking like, were Robin Wright and Connie Nielsen coming back. They said, they weren't always written in, but she knew exactly what it was. But when the studio said you have to choose, I said no. She fought for keeping both in. Yeah, we have two openings, but the openings serve their purposes and are required. So again,
Okay,
fighting for the
okay.
trench sequence, fighting for those two openings. So
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
anyway, still a squirrel.
Yeah.
Joe Blow interview, giving credit where credit is due.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about Maxwell Lord's motivation? How you felt about it? Travis, you stepped away. Did you have anything you wanted to add to it?
I think it's something we'll probably talk more about in spoilers. I think I just wanted a little bit more time with him pre going super crazy, going
Okay.
world ending, even just more stuff with his son, because they didn't even portray him to be like, portrayed him to be a very busy father, but he still seemed like he cared about his son. But I wanted maybe a little bit more, kind of same with like Barbara and Diana, a little bit more. I think there's some stuff they could have cut and put somewhere else or made it longer. I have no problem if a movie is
I
like
think he
3.5
was too
hours,
far
but-
gone in the con. Like I don't think he cared too much about his son. Not until the very end.
Not necessarily. I mean, it was like in the very beginning because he was telling his son, I want you to be proud of me. So I think his son was his motivation, but I think
Yeah.
it was kind of
That's what I mean. He was too far gone into the con.
yeah. I mean, it was, but it wasn't.
But I think my problem is if at the ending, the turning point for him to become a pseudo good guy or redemption is his son, then I think they should have set up a little bit more that he
Right.
really cared about his son. Because to me, the way they showed it is like he didn't want, of course, there's like kill his son, but I didn't know if that would really change him from like, I don't know, taking organs from 50 million people around the world, where this was like his son didn't disappear or anything. His son was there right in the middle of all this. So that's where I think a little bit more, but I liked it. I even liked the stuff at the beginning when he was hamming it up. I like when actors do that appropriately. When you get to Nick Cage levels, it's a little much, but I think Pedro's on that right thing. And I know people have talked about the him and Trump comparisons. I actually don't see him that much other than the look. Like if you look at the way he carries himself versus, the future former vice president, it's very like different. It's just more,
Well, there was that
80s, like
one
Gorgon
specific
Gecko.
scene where he was like, "Oh, everybody's just jealous of me. Everybody's just jealous
Yeah.
of me." Like
There's some dialogue, but I just thought like the persona was not there. So I get why people would jump to that, the look, everything, the 80s. But I think he did a good job. I'm interested to see if they ever bring him back, but I'm not. It ended at a point where I don't need more from that character. If Wonder Woman 3 happens, I'm not going to be like, I need to see Maxwell, or like, okay, I think I feel more up in the air about what do we do more with Barbara / Sheeta. But with him, it feels like with this story of his son and the dialogue he gave to his son, that's like a closing off point for that character. It doesn't feel like he would be in any more adventures. And plus, it's the whole prequel thing. So by the time you get to 2020, he'd be in his 60s, 70s. I don't see Maxwell Lord jumping along, the Thunderbolt to ride for another adventure. So.
All right. Got anything else, Maxwell Lord? All raised great points. But let's pick one here. We touched on this earlier. Let's talk about the scene, Diana rescinding the wish. We touched on this earlier, so shouldn't take a long time with it here. Lisa, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah.
We'd mentioned that we wanted to see, I think that it wasn't a transition that I had to see. I would have liked to have seen her look back and not see Steve Trevor, not see Chris Pine. Is not what I want to see. Not necessarily the transition, but what do you think?
I mean, I think it's powerful that she's finally going to let go of that relationship and move forward. And I like that, Steve Trevor tries to explain to her that she can move on and love again, because I think that's healthy. I don't want Wonder Woman to obsess over Steve forever, because that's dark and sad. And, I don't want her to be depressed. But also I think maybe they could have done a better job with, you guys raised some points earlier about how it affected the other guy. Maybe that could have played into their decision more of, hey, it's someone else's turn to live their life and you need to let this go, and like kind of include that in that little, I don't know, cloud of decision making. And that would have maybe helped a lot of the issues that people have
oh
with
God,
that.
what if it was creepy enough to where he was like actually able to like break out of the persona every once in a while, be like, "Hey, I'm still here." Like,
Hey,
jeez.
help. Yeah. No, not quite there, but maybe that they would have a conversation about it or something. I don't know. But I thought that scene was very emotional and painful. And when she's kind of crawling away and crying, I thought it was like a really good scene. I thought it was one of the better scenes in the movie. But I also can see Chris's point earlier that even though there's a lot of impact by not seeing it, I know what he means by it felt like it was like happening maybe too fast or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. Someone else go.
Was
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna ask because I mean this is another part of my criticism, and I know I'm gonna get some hate over this, but was that part the like because everybody was saying I saw like the raving reviews the night before. Was that supposed to be like the better No Man's Land scene?
I hope
I-
that because that was right before the first flight, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
her,
whole
like-
highway scene, right? And everything.
Yeah, her
that.
like running and getting like her
Mm.
inspiration to like go forward.
I feel like that's people using very like hot take lingo because I feel like
Yeah.
there's key scenes in comic movies and the No Man's Land will never be topped as far as in a
Yeah.
Wonder Woman movie ever again because of what it set up, the pacing of it, the score, just how it was done and what it meant for comic book films.
Yeah.
They'll never be able to top that again. Any comic Captain Marvel stuff like that. It's just one of those things the same way Black Panther did certain things that you'll always be the second to do it or the third to do it. And you can do it great. And I don't think that highway scene is bad or anything. I like it, but in no way did it compare the No Man's Land scene, but I just think that's because that was literally like it's what I'm going to do. And she goes up there and does it. This wasn't that big moment of literally the sense of walking across No Man's Land and as a woman doing this. This was literally just, hey, there's gunfire, I got to stop it. So there's
Well-
no emotional weight there.
Well, it's a different emotional weight.
Yeah,
true.
true.
It's not. She's not walking out to being fired upon at that point. She's literally turning her back and accepting the fact that Steve is physically not going to be there anymore, and learning to say, "I will never see him physically again." But as he said, I'll always be with you. You know, I'm gone, but I'm never. I'm not there. And her accepting that and understanding again, going back to what it is. There are no shortcuts. You cannot shortcut your way back to Steve, and her understanding that and accepting that. And it's interesting in some roundabout way. I did like the little hints we saw of her continuing on her life with the previous film. We saw one of the sniper getting married in one of the photographs. We saw Etta. She was
I was
still
going
with
to ask
Etta.
you about that. Yeah, the older version of her. Yep.
Yeah. So, and that's the actual actress, and she tweeted it out again today. But her accepting the fact that if she is 3,000 years old, this is the life that she unfortunately has to live. That people she loves and cares about are going, if they are not like her, they are going to pass on. They're going to get older. And so, but it's one thing to have a very close relationship and love for a friend like Etta and some of the other crew that she had in the first one, but the love of her life, we all can have that idea, like to let that go is not something that's easily let go. And I think her running away is not necessarily letting go. It's accepting that physically not going to be there and learning. And I know some people had difficulty saying like, I can't just believe she never had any kind of ever love at that point. It's like, well, it's just different for everyone at that point. And I know how Wonder Woman is put up there as a representative of she is in comics supposed to be bisexual at that point. You know, it's been dealt with here and there at that point, and we could maybe see that in a third movie. We could maybe see that dealt with and looked at that point. But I don't see it as a bad thing for her because Steve was her first love in that of what we've seen. So her running away from that and screaming is her pain, starting the acceptance of that I can't get him back.
And that
Man,
was
she's in 84. She's going to hit a whole bunch of those breakup songs too. So it's not going to be any helpful at all.
true.
Yeah.
It's a big point, a big theme of the film. It's how she gets Maxwell Lord to listen to her, and the whole rest of the world to listen to her, is by expressing the fact that in this life, like very painful things that happen that we feel like we can't move past, but life is like worth living and we need to heal and move past that. So I think that scene was her doing that. Like she can tell people to do that, but she's not just telling people to do that. She like went through it herself. And so that's kind of how I read that scene and how it plays into the end of the movie.
Yeah,
the
that
scene also
go ahead.
it also kind of connects to BVS and Wonder Woman really, really good, she's saying goodbye to Steve, and then the picture of Steve and the crew gets stolen. So that kind of drives her even more to find that picture again, so that when we do see it at the beginning of Wonder Woman, it means something more now. It's not just, oh yeah, I remember the war that I met him in and he died in. Now I also remember when he came back to me and I lost him again. It's another deeper connection and a deeper love for that character that she had.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and I just want to say that scene, like when I talk about the no emotions, I meant more just the action part, because that
Yeah,
scene
I
with
know
her
what you're
saying bye to that scene with her saying bye to Trevor, that was my favorite scene of the movie, and it's just one of those moments where I thought Gal Gadot was really good in the first Wonder Woman, but I thought she's still new to acting. It's just one of those moments where you see an actress, you go, okay, they have that second gear, they're learning that second gear, and it came off very natural and it was very strong, and yeah, that was my favorite part of the moment, because both of them were just doing really good chemistry wise. We already knew that from the first film they had that, but this is a different type of chemistry. And the first goodbye scene of Wonder Woman, it's like a stunted emotional thing because Diana's deaf, and it's just Chris Pine acting, and then he's in a plane and she's over there. This kind of got to do like a redo of that scene, and that's what I really enjoyed.
She actually
And it
got
was
to say
also a
goodbye.
reshoot,
Closure,
technically.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, Clay.
Wasn't it also part of a reshoot?
That I don't know. I have no idea.
That
if it
third
was-
act?
You mean in Wonder Woman 1? Yeah, I don't know if, like, because I know the Ares thing was, but I don't know what happened with Pine in the original movie or whatnot. I've never done that, but either way, in this one, I think, yeah, like Lee said, it was closure. It was much needed, and I think it's closure also the same way as far as with Pedro. I don't want to see. You could talk about Steve Trevor. I don't need to see Chris Pine in the third one or kind of anything.
I don't think he'll show up.
No, I don't think so
Yeah.
either. But I know people have memed about that. Like,
there
how are they
was
gonna bring
there
back
was that
this guy?
huge rumor that like the whole thing with like Steve Trevor's family lineage was like every other male looked exactly the same or something.
Oh, don't do that.
So we
Don't
were
do
gonna
that.
get a Steve Trevor Jr. and then like
Don't do the Captain America kissing Sharon Carter thing, and then he
Yeah.
goes
Right.
back in the past like, "Hey, I have a niece," and he's like, "Yeah, I know. We gotta talk." Like,
I know we met. She's fine.
Yeah,
How did
I
you meet
know.
her?
I
Wait
don't
a
want
minute.
that
Creepy.
Yeah.
because it's just weird. Then it's just weird of like, oh, I didn't get Steve Trevor, but I got like Steve Trevin the third, and it's
Right.
like, no, I don't want that. Like, it's her
6.0.
great
You're gonna
love.
get a whole other
I
weird
didn't
debate
get
that we
I
just
didn't
tried
get
to
Steve,
avoid.
but I got
Yeah,
Stevie.
Yeah.
Steve-O?
And it's the same thing when we talk about like, retcon stuff. That's something that I guarantee you in Civil War, when they watch it back, they're like, I wish we had that one back. We thought we were
Yeah.
going one way, and we had we had Captain America kiss his niece, and maybe we shouldn't have done that. But that's what happens again. The other filmmakers, and time goes
Comic
on. They go,
books.
"Oh."
Hey.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
I never
and that's
thought
why-
about that.
And that's what I like about when we talk about that. Even Gal Gadot during one of the press tours, like, yeah, like that was maybe not the best line in the movie, but you know what? We went back and it's changed, and we're moving forward now. It's like, okay, cool. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I never thought about that until now. That technically, if he went back and he was with Peggy, that he kissed his niece.
Yeah,
I
he
thought
did.
about that
Whatever, Luke
immediately
kisses
the
his-
first time I
whatever
saw it.
happens.
I'm like, that's strange. That
I still
you
argue
love
it's an
somebody,
alternate
but
timeline, but that's just me.
It's
That's
no,
true.
it's
No,
still
yeah.
no. It's still that. If you see that Sharon Carter come up, it's gonna be weird,
It's
and
getting
it's just
real dicey. Yeah.
because when they thought out Endgame, that was the one part they didn't think about the Peggy Carter thing. And when they're in the writers' room, like, this is a great idea, and they're like, well, what about? And they're like, well, George Lucas did it, we can do it too. So
Yeah.
and it kind of just the idea that like you love somebody, but then if someone's even just related to them, you're like, that's good enough.
I love them
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
That's
Give me
really
some of that
strange.
DNA.
Yeah.
Too.
He saves his life.
Yeah, I'm in
not
love
normal.
with. Yeah.
So the
We have
consensus is
cleared a
no
whole
Steve Trevor.
new weird
scene.
air of this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I want to point out Joshua Perez in the chat room says, wouldn't it have been cool if Joseph and Martha Kent would have wished for a baby and Clark comes out of the sky? That would have been a really epic Easter egg.
So
Oh,
Then they would have to
Please-
renounce it.
Yeah, that's what I
He'd
said.
go right
That's
back
what my
up.
response-
Well,
that's
Well,
what my
hold
response
on.
was.
Did
Well,
they
he
though?
said-
Because we'll get
he
to that at the
said in
end.
the chat.
Yeah,
he said
we'll
in
get
the
to that at the
chat,
end.
well, not everybody would have renounced their wish.
Yes,
because
and
the
we're gonna talk
idea
about
of
that. Mhm.
everyone renouncing their wish is kind of
Is
silly.
ludicrous.
But
I thought that's how it
It's
had to
But,
work.
but my
This
question,
throw-
to it now.
question
and this is what irritates me, because everybody is throwing out there the whole Martha and Thomas thing like it's their
God.
original idea, and it's like everywhere on Twitter right now, and it's really bothersome. But it's fun to like play along, but I just don't think it's something that would have happened.
Hey,
Yeah.
I got this original idea about Martha and Thomas Wayne. I think you guys might.
Shut up, Joe.
Hey, well, my question is like, what would they have given up? the monkey's paw situation. What
Their
do they have
farm?
to give up?
The dad has to die in a tornado for no reason. That's probably what happened.
Oh,
He twisted his ankle. He couldn't get back.
That's right. Saving the
No,
dog. Come on.
Thomas and Martha actually gave up Alfred, and then when they renounced it, they came back.
We're not talking about we're not talking about Tom King's run at this point.
They gave up their bulletproof vest for the night.
They sit Alfred down. Sorry, man, you're gonna disappear next week, but we really wanted to be alive. See ya.
But I could see like the idea of like, okay, they gave up having a successful farm.
Yeah. Something little.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I can
Maybe,
see.
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, before we get any further, let's go ahead and take our next ad break. Knock the last one out of the way. That way we can talk about the last little stuff here that I'm ready to get into because I got some stuff to say, y'all.
You
I
didn't
might,
have
I might
before?
ruffle some feathers here. So, but let's take a real quick break, folks. Once again, this helps keep the lights on. Just give us about 30 seconds, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. YouTube magic right there. So let's go on to the next topics here, y'all. We got a few more things I want to touch on. A few more things I have written down that we've kind of already touched on. So I'm kind of jump around here. Talk to me about the Dreamstone. And what do you think about that being like the crux thing? Is that a big thing in the comics? I've never-
Convoluted.
Huh?
Convoluted. That's all
Okay.
I'm going to say to it.
Okay.
I looked up, tried to see if it actually was in the comics.
Mhm.
I couldn't find anything. The only reference was in this movie, so I think
Okay.
it's a new property.
It's just something that they added, which is something that even my wife said that like Diana makes this big point about talking about the god of lies. As if
Dolos, I think is what because the first
I
time I
have no
watched it, and again I watched it in theaters like Sarah, I did not hear what she said. I did not hear her name.
yeah, well, they
So the
were
entire
whispering because they
time-
were trying to keep the whole thing about Wonder Woman away from Minerva.
Yeah,
Like,
they
so
do
they
a
were
terrible
whispering, they
job
were being
when Steve is like, "Oh,
Oh my
but
God, your powers."
powers."
Yeah.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
okay,
But like the thing is, my wife even said that, you know, Diana made it a big deal about this whole god. And I understand that she probably learned a lot in Themyscira. You know, she studied a whole bunch. That's the whole thing with her. Languages is her hobby type thing. I felt that we needed quite possibly to know a little bit more about this god, or possibly like have like, oh yeah, you know, a couple of years ago after Trevin died, you know, I had to deal with this god.
And
Something.
like a quick little scene would, like a little flashback would have nothing huge, but something similar to like a Asteria, just something like that, something small.
Yes.
There you go.
and that's what I want in the third one, that we're going to lean back hard into the Greek mythology.
Yes, I
We're
think
gonna-
that's something that has been highly recommended from
Like
what I've seen.
Cersei, and people say, well, the gods, they shouldn't have wiped out all the gods. Guess what? Again, comics, they're only dead as long as until we come to a good story. You can MacGuffin, you find your different
mean,
way in. It's not
exactly.
hard.
Look,
I mean,
it's-
they put Trevor in this movie.
Well, but I mean, the
Literally.
gods are perfect. The comics are a perfect example. New 52, they had all of these gods that got wiped out, and then when Rebirth came back, oh well, here, let's bring some of them back because why not? It's good
Yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah, you can change anything with a keyboard. That's like any screenwriter. It doesn't matter. Anybody can come
Mhm.
back. Anything can change. Anyone can get a new power, and that's where it's like,
Yeah,
I
as long
agree.
as the story works, it's
yeah.
it's fine.
And I do.
and if
agree
it
with-
doesn't, we just headcanon our way through it.
yeah, exactly.
Figure out a way.
Pretty much.
And I agree with Clay that it is a little convoluted, and I think that's where I liked the stone aspect more when it was Pedro dealing with the personal things around him, and then once it got to President and X-rays, that's when I got a little checked of like, okay, so you're gonna have this beam, it's gonna
Oh,
touch
that was a
everybody.
terrible-
The
Reagan.
TV wish
Ugh.
was so weird.
Wait,
yeah, so
it
I-
Well, they
touches
never actually,
everyone.
they never actually said Reagan. They just said
No,
they,
they
called him
didn't.
the
It was
president.
yeah,
No,
the
they didn't know,
president.
but that was
That
the
was the Reagan era.
implication,
Yes,
and that was a
yes.
terrible,
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't
I-
a good call, but
No,
I,
It's not nothing against the actor. It's just whatever was done, it was not
No.
doing the best for him.
yeah, so it's tough because it is a little convoluted, but I think that all comes down to kind of what's your cup of tea. It's the same thing after Rise of Skywalker. There's all this debate of like, what can the Force do? For me, I'm never too interested in that because I go, I'm more interested in the story and the character development. But I get why it might bug people. I 100% like that happens to me all the time with some stuff that no one bugged by at all. So I think it should just stayed a bit more smaller scale. But then I like seeing Pedro's kind of descent and the way he looked and everything. He looked great, but I just think it got too fantastical. And I was a little surprised because Patty, before they were talking about the studio with the first one, said they enforced the whole battle of the Ares. It was this grand scale. She didn't have a big battle, but when she's like, oh, the finale of this movie is going to be more personal, it is definitely with Barbara and the speech that Wonder Woman gives. But I didn't think we were going to get to like touching everybody in the world. So I think they could have found a way to maybe keep it more mid-scale. But it, like I said, it didn't ruin the movie for me. But there is times where I'm like people have already debated. I get it, but it's like still technically Diana never says, I wish for Steve Trevor to come back, and it happens, right?
It was an internal
No,
wish.
Right there.
I know, but it's just
because
like
the wind blew, and that's like,
well,
she
because
made
that
a
was the
wish.
big thing. The wind blew when she took the wish. The wind blew when Barbara did the wish.
Do you want to know when it didn't blow? The wind did not blow when the
Coffee man?
the coffee guy. Yep.
No, it did.
What was his
It-
monkey's
I-
ball?
I think it did.
I don't think it did it.
I kind of went back and forth in that scene just to make sure, because my wife
Or was
pointed
it
out
like
to
the
me.
little chiming sound? Because there's like this small
some
a hint
wind did
of
blow.
like the soundtrack or something.
But I still think that you should have to physically say what you want, because I may want to buy this very expensive chocolate bar.
But I
Then
think
it does
the whole
for
thing,
me,
because even my wife
was
was
that-
like, well, why does everybody else have to say I wish with Pedro
I
Pascal's
think
character?
just for storytelling, though. Like,
Exactly.
I think it's just for the movie's sake. If
Mhm.
everyone was just thinking the whole movie, then that would be like frustrating to watch.
it
if
would be
everyone's just like,
frustrating and boring, and that's what I told my
Yeah.
wife. I said
Yeah.
it's something for the audience, like purely
Right.
for the audience.
Mhm.
But what bothered me was the MacGuffin of the second wish for Barbara,
Yes.
but not the second wish for his son.
or even the one intern guy.
Well, no, the one intern guy, I don't think that's second wish for the one intern guy. I think my theory with that is that he went to somebody else and made that wish.
Well, no, he did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The guy already had his wish. He went up to him. And he's like, "Wait, didn't you already wish for something?"
He's
Yes,
like,
I got that
yes,
Porsche.
Porsche. Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
oh
he's
well,
like,
screw you.
Y'all
What's
wanted
everybody
Porsche.
did
Everybody
was
wanted
the
Porsche.
second wish.
Yeah.
I have my problems with the way they ended this and that scene in particular, but I thought about it the second time I watched it, and the way I think it is, he explains to her, it's different when you're the one who grants the wishes, because not only does he grant the wishes, he gets in return what he wants back. So what she asked for wasn't a second wish. He was taking the wishes people were giving him and in turn saying, okay, I'm going to give her this, because she's not making a wish, but he still has the power to grant her that. And that's how I took that the second time I watched it.
She
The
said
first
she
time I
wanted
watched
to
it,
be
I
an
didn't
apex
see it like that.
predator.
Well, yeah, she wanted it.
She
but
wanted
she
it,
didn't
and-
say I wish. She
Right,
did
didn't
say
I
I
wish. Exactly.
There's
and
that.
he gave it to
And
her.
then
Yeah,
she
he gave it to
didn't
her.
feel all different until he was
Because
broadcasting.
and whenever he's doing
I
his
didn't
little
notice
thing
that,
and he's
so
healing
I didn't-
himself, he even says to her, he's like, give her the fury, give her the strength, or something like that. And he
Oh,
says,
okay.
I
I
didn't
didn't,
this,
I didn't
and
hear
do
that.
So
Nice catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have thoughts on the scale. I disagree. I think it had to be like a worldwide thing, and I think it started with Maxwell Lord's first con, where he was talking about oil,
Mhm.
and that's where it was all gonna go, like towards the end of the movie, and then also include like Cold War stuff as well. But I think it like that's the natural outcome of him being power hungry. And also they set up earlier in the film that that's what that stone does. It literally brings down like empires.
Mhm.
So I think that if it didn't bring and now like because the world is so connected by the 80s, it like had the power to not just bring down like one civilization but like everybody at the same
Right.
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
So to me, like it going from him being just kind of power hungry to influencing the whole world with the TV and with all that other stuff, to me, I don't know, that worked for me. I liked that that's where it ended up.
all right, I got a few more topics here, but all of these are going to kind of get covered if I just go off this list I have here. So I'm going to go off this list and it'll cover all these topics that's talking about it. These are things that I had problems with in the movie, and I'm going to just read the list out, and then you guys tell me.
Wrong,
Maybe you can convince me otherwise. There's a scene at the end where Diana and Trevor are going to go find Maxwell Lord, and Diana is just ripping through security guards, throwing them against walls, punching them, kicking them, flipping them, everything. Then when Cheetah comes to do it, all of a sudden Diana has to save them. That bothered me. I was like, well, what's the difference? They're the exact same guys. It's the exact same scene. But if she beats him up, it's bad. If you beat him up, it's not bad. That bothered me.
Because Wonder Woman knows her power.
She even made. There was even a point where Steve Trevor pulled out the sword from the wall, and she's like, "Oh, they don't know any better."
Right.
And you get the sense of like, okay, she's not going to kill anybody. She's learned that lesson.
See,
and
I
it was
took
also
that as-
it was also a big part of Patty Jenkins telling everyone that she was going to be getting rid of the sword and shield.
See,
for
I
this movie.
took that with the sword as you're not going to get with 4 guys who have semi-automatic weapons.
No. She meant it as, hey, we're not going to kill anyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not-
Yeah.
they're-
So
they're-
she's
they're
taking
not-
everybody.
Yeah,
She's
they're not
taking
in
everybody
control.
out without killing them. And even when she hits the bullet, she hits the Voss, which scares Maxwell Lord, and it doesn't hit him at all. So they kind of
It
went
looked like it hit him somewhat because he was grabbing his face at one point.
Well, he was already in pain after
the
talking to the
Voss
president.
exploded and probably hit him. But they took the route of, if you remember the early interviews of Homecoming for Spider-Man, they said that Spider-Man was basically not going to even be using any type of force. He was just going to be defending himself and getting away from bad guys, which is basically what he does. But in this film, they made it a point like she is no longer that ruthless, quote unquote, ruthless killer, or even, ruthless, bloodthirsty Amazon, whatever, from the first one, which is why we didn't see that intense type of action.
Okay. I get that.
Yeah, and I
also,
felt
Barbara.
like.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I just think Barbara also doesn't know her powers. We get that scene of her with the fridge, and she opens it and completely destroys it. I think Wonder Woman, when you're talking about like, how does she hit a guard and doesn't kill him versus Barbara? I feel like Wonder Woman knows she can still pull a punch or throw somewhere. Where Barbara, she might throw this guy, but she doesn't know, so she's gonna throw this guy and might break his neck. That's the way.
Also, the thing that Barbara, what she gave up to get the wish to be like Diana, was her humanity. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah, and I think they do a good job of showing like how Wonder Woman's powers in like the wrong hands is so bad, because there's that scene where she defended Minerva from that creep, but then later she doesn't just defend herself. She takes pleasure in like harming him.
You see his teeth fly out though.
Yeah, which is like different from just saying like, "Hey, stop," and don't do that. She's like actually enjoying like hurting someone, which we never see Wonder Woman do.
I only had one issue with that, is I felt that Barbara Minerva's humanity was limited to giving a homeless man food. We didn't see more of her humanity.
Well, you saw it when she was talking with Wonder Woman or Diana.
We saw her being a normal human being.
Yeah, that's humanity.
But I don't think
low.
Like I don't think it was like very much like it was 0 to 100 for me. And I was just like, I just need a little bit more. And maybe it's just because I really enjoy Kristen Wiig as an actress. But
they went real deep with that. What it was the colors of her outfits, because before she changed, she was wearing bright colors. And after she made the change, she's all in black almost every time you see her. And then Wonder Woman's in white almost every time you see her.
Yeah.
And random cheetah print just like everywhere.
Right.
The hotter she gets, the more evil. It's
a curse of life.
That's why my girlfriend's evil.
Oh, man.
And that's what I would have liked to have seen, the full transformation in the end.
Yes.
That is one thing I think that I liked what I saw. It was okay for what we got in the first sequence, but it's almost like I would have loved to have seen more in this fight. It just seemed very much thrown in at the end just to finally have her transform, have her see in the final cheetah sequence. And in the end, it's just like, I want more.
The thing is, Cheetah is a big character in the DC comics. But if it wasn't for the fact that she was just wearing cheetah print the entire movie, it could have easily been like a bear, a tiger.
But I would have liked to see, because I know she makes that, she wants to be more, she wants to be the apex predator. I want to see that full transformation. I just want to see, call it the fly moment. I don't know, whatever, but I want to see that. And then fast forward to the end, okay, she's back to, I'm glad we didn't kill her. I'm glad we got, two quote unquote villains that we don't kill at the end, but that means, Barbara's still out there. Barbara, again, there's comic precedent that Barbara goes back and forth through the persona. So
Mhm.
but again, I wish we saw the transformation, and it just seemed at the end a little thrown in and just left me wanting more, which is, if that's what it is, so be it. They succeeded.
It was also a little too dark. Like, I think that they were trying to hide a lot of how things looked with like the color palette. Did you guys feel that way? Like, they never really showed her all the way. It was kind of
Yes.
Yeah,
like, let's
you
just
never
see
got
her for a
good
little
focus
bit
on
so we
her.
don't really focus on it too much. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
Blame
this originally was
Cats.
supposed to come out around the same time as Cats, so
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I
They
got
didn't wanna
moved
show
back
her
the first
butthole.
time.
Yeah. And bless them for that. But
Yes.
Joe, Jesus.
Let's see. One more scene I had a problem with, or not scene, issue. The car scene where they're chasing Maxwell Lord. I guess it's in Cairo. Or
Cairo.
Cairo.
Kyra.
She's just in her outfit, right? And they're driving, they're chasing.
it was
She's
underneath
like,
her. It was underneath her costume, or
and
her.
she's
This
like,
was like
I've got
an
this. And
Indiana
all of a
Jones
sudden, she's in the
sequence.
Wonder Woman
Yeah.
costume.
I,
and bam,
I
she's out there.
immediately started to think Indiana Jones as
Yeah,
far as the
I
car
thought
sequence,
that's
which
what
was
it
really
was.
fun for me,
Yeah.
to be honest. But as soon as she like opens the door and like starts to run, it like I know I'm a little bit of a snood whenever it comes to special effects.
I did
it
not
didn't-
like the running.
It was
It
wonky.
didn't look great.
It was
Mm-mm.
wonky
But
as
it
hell.
just looked really silly. Now it didn't look as silly as Urza Miller in Justice League or whatever.
Mm.
But it just looked really, really silly.
It didn't look
I
very
should've kinda liked
organic.
it,
It didn't look
though.
natural.
Yeah.
It was like,
They were
Mhm.
able to get away with it a little bit when most of the chaos was going on because it focused a little less on it. But overall, I mean, that was when we saw for sure that she was losing her power. And
Mhm.
I think the
That was
only
the first
scene
scene, yeah.
there that I didn't like.
I thought it was the lock. The lock was where we started.
Yeah, I guess
yeah,
that was the
yeah,
first
that's
one.
true.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
true. The lock was the first. But I guess this is the first time we actually see her injured.
Yeah,
yeah,
the full.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
It
the
took me a
one-
minute to see what was happening. Did you
Mhm.
guys
Yeah,
feel that way? I was like,
'cause
why is
even
she struggling so
like,
much?
she even like took a moment to like look at the wound and see what in the world is going on. I
Mhm.
think the only part of that scene I didn't like was the almost Bollywood-esque swinging from the lamppost.
Mhm, to save the
And-
kids.
And I
Which I'm
unfortunately
pretty sure those
I s-
kids' necks got broken. Come
Oh,
on, let's be
yeah.
honest.
Easily.
when she stopped
they're
when she-
fine, they're fine.
it like the camera switched really quick, but on the second run of me watching it, I saw that they were dummies, and I was just like,
Mhm.
oh, that's
Yeah.
a bummer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is a problem.
Yeah. Just
happens.
it was just a quick thing, and I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I saw the dummies, and she's like, well, yeah, of course you would.
yeah, they were kind of like flopping around a little bit.
Well,
Right.
see-
I mean, they would
seeing
have
it-
to. In real life, they would have like dummies been flopping around.
Seeing it
so.
on big screen, I couldn't tell. Seeing it at home, I noticed they were a little off.
Yeah.
I think the problem with that scene, I'll agree with you guys on the like effects and how that looked in that scene. I think that what really works in the Indiana Jones movies is that you really feel the stakes because he's a person like jumping around from different trains and you're scared for him. So I almost feel like they should have not leaned into the effects and like, I don't know, slowed it down so that she could really be running or something like that, just so we could feel like the danger she's in or something. And that
I
whole
think
scene might have been
even
better.
if you go to the minimum of that kind of scene, which would be for me, I think would be CW's The Flash, and then maximum being this movie, The Flash, something like Black Panther, or even in Infinity War when you see Captain America and well, I guess Civil War, Endgame, all those. I think it's just a really hard concept to put whenever because Wonder Woman is clearly a demigod or
Mhm.
our god is, and so I would think that she would be able to run faster than Black Panther or Captain America. So it needs to look like crazy. It can't
Yeah.
just be like, oh look, I'm running really fast.
I get
So it's just a hard concept to put on paper or to put on the big screen.
I agree with that.
Let's see. I have one more issue, and then I'm going to get into the final battle scene and go with my issues of that. My other issue is with Diana. sticking Barbara under the water to electrocute her. Diana's in the water as well. One, why do you have to stick her under the water?
Yep.
Zeus.
I knew Chris was going to say it, but
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
One, why do you have to
They're
stick her
on
under the
that
water?
quick.
Because she's already in the water. She's going to get shocked. And two, if she's supposed to have the same powers as Diana, why did Diana not get affected by
She
that?
said similar powers, not same powers.
Yeah.
She said she wanted the same powers as Diana before. She wanted to be her. And then after that, she
She
wanted
said
to be
she wanted to be
number one.
like Diana.
Well, she
And
wanted to be
then
number
when the
one
second
in Apex
wish-
Predator.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would assume number one means better than Diana. Like if you've already had her powers, I would assume you'd be stronger. Or I don't know. It just confused me. I didn't understand why Diana wasn't affected by
Hey,
that.
what
Because
happens
powers
to a
do not trump science.
hold on? What happens to a cheetah when it's struck by lightning?
Same
thing
thing
that
that happens to
everything
everything
else.
else.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
I just got Titans flashbacks, to be honest. The
But-
scene on Troy
Uh-huh.
get taken out by the electricity when that happened. I was like, oh boy.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Why did
Yeah.
I immediately
Chris,
thought
go
about
ahead.
that, but again, she is the daughter of
Yep.
Zeus.
Yeah.
I get that.
This
She
is
can
something that
hand-
Patty
Yes.
Yeah.
brought up.
Yep.
I get that. Okay.
High five. Go ahead. There we
And
go.
I can take that as an answer. I get that. Look, this was a small problem for me. Let's get to the last thing here, the final scene. This was one that I had a huge problem with for a number of reasons. One, I hate when the villain is defeated by being talked down. Two, in this scene, it shows Wonder Woman trying to throw her lasso at whatever this manipulating power is that Maxwell Lord has. And you see she obviously can't. It's so strong, it throws her back against a wall. Then somehow, back against that wall, she's able to get that lasso around his leg.
It's a
Didn't
snake.
like,
It's
didn't like that. Hold on.
stronger.
Oh, there's more though. There's more. Hold on.
It's love.
There's more.
Love.
The broadcasting system to touch everybody totally trumps the idea of touching him in the movie to begin with. I didn't like that idea. And
That
more
was-
importantly,
yeah.
some of the people that were affected weren't even watching TV.
Are you
they
talking about
still-
the
their
lady and
wishes
the
were
guy?
well,
the
lady-
Irishman, the guy,
the Irishman
yeah.
lady weren't even watching TV and they were affected. And I was like, okay, this is getting a little weird now.
Maybe he
I did
took
not
over
like the way they
the
ended this
broadcast
movie.
Maybe it's
stations
like the
too, but-
spirit of it, just like regretting.
But
Getting
that
old.
makes
No,
the
'cause
whole
if you
touch
if
me
you
or touch
remember
the stone
when
thing.
in the
no
A
one
lot of
cafe
touching going
or
on right now.
in the cafe or restaurant, I think it was almost like not only TV, but it might have been radio as well.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay.
think that was more of a big thing for the cafe lady saying that all the Irish bastards should go back from where they came from. I was like, Jesus. But
It doesn't
that-
explain the touching though.
for me though,
Tell me about
honestly,
It's
as
particle
somebody
waves.
who reviews DC comics every single week, I unfortunately think that DC has a little bit of a Wonder Woman writing problem. Because
Definitely.
for me,
Yeah.
I don't think we got to worry about that for a while, but
for me personally, every single arc in a Wonder Woman story is won by, oh, love conquers all, and then
Right.
nothing, like it's just words. Oh crap! It's literally.
You feel
it's
passionate
just-
about this.
I know.
feels love.
It's literally just like,
Listen to me.
oh, with the power of love, being freaking Captain Planet over here. It's just like, and that's it. And then it like something just like literally the force of love just wins everything.
I'm cool
And-
with that though. I think this touches on something Sarah said
Then
earlier,
why is it
and
such a
something
badass
she and I
word?
kind of, I think we
Good.
connected on. And it's that in a lot of these superhero films that have lead females, we hear all the time that the action scenes aren't really that great. They're not as exciting. There's less of them. I've heard people say the first one had a pacing problem because they spent so much time in that little town, enjoying the moment and dancing and things like that.
Oh, that's so
I
good.
That
I
was
know,
fun.
I agree. But I think sometimes when people focus on the action, they may not be thinking about the fact that maybe a lot of female fans don't like those scenes as much. And I mean, I'm only speaking for myself. Can't speak for all women, but I do think that when you don't hear a lot of female fans saying they had a problem with the action, there's something there. And so I think like with Wonder Woman, her end game not necessarily being like defeating the bad guy, but talking him down and reasoning with them. I think that's really powerful, and I actually like that. I like that Maxwell has like this big emotional turn,
Mhm.
and I find that a little more interesting than a final battle. And maybe that's not for everybody, but it's what I like more. And so when people say like, "Oh, I really wish," I think that might just be a difference of opinion in what a superhero movie has to have versus what they typically have. But yeah, I think that the reason why you don't hear that across the board sometimes is because sometimes people don't need a big final battle. Like,
Get that.
I don't know.
You don't always have to fight your way out of it. There's other ways
Yeah.
of handling it without having to have like fighting the big baddie, like having this yeah, I mean, Wonder Woman's capable of, she can handle her business. I mean, if she needs to go toe to toe with somebody, she can handle it.
It got
But
a
then
little
there's
confusing
also-
to me. It got a little confusing to me because at first she was like, "Oh, I'm not talking to you," and it was talking to everybody. And then without like really any type of transition, she was talking to him, and then it's like, "Oh, now you see the truth," and he saw this moment with his son.
Which,
Well,
by
I think
the way,
this was a carryover from the first movie too, because at the very end, she realized it was especially
Yeah,
about humanity, with Ares.
She did,
Yeah.
she did see what was it, Dr. Poison, and she's like, "No, you were wrong about these people."
Yes.
And that's when
so
she
now I
threw
feel like
the
it was a
tank down.
transition in this movie. It was more of her figuring out humanity and what she studied over from that point to now. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like, okay, everybody has their own battle to fight. It's not always something physical that you can fight. It's a lot of, mental as well. And so when she was saying, I'm not specifically talking to you, I'm talking to everyone. And then when he finally realized, he's like, okay, well, it's not just me. The whole theme throughout this movie was everybody's selfishness led to this chaos.
Yeah.
Because it's
See-
harder to figure out your own truth and see where you're sitting than it is, because it's a hell of a lot easier to say, okay, I wish for this, I wish for that. Hey, I'm even guilty of that. I mean, this year has
Yeah.
been crap for a lot of people, but I've been totally blessed with some things that have happened to me throughout this year.
Yeah.
And and I can't sit there and say, oh my God, well, I'm stuck in this house and life sucks. No, it doesn't. I mean, it's a lot better than probably a lot of people are dealing with right now. So,
Mhm.
that's my selfishness.
Yeah.
I have to realize my truth. So and I think that's one of the reasons why this movie touched me, or why I felt so much, other than just I didn't need a final battle. I mean, I
Yeah.
like the way it ended.
Mhm.
Look,
Yeah,
my
this-
2 kids cried over that last.
Aw.
I feel
the
like there
ending.
needed to
Oh,
be a
wow.
confrontation with Maxwell Lord, which there was. I felt like there needed to be an actual like fight, because I mean, it seemed to be that's the way it was going with the Cheetah and Barbara with her transformation. For me, I guess it was just I was so, for me, a little let down from Cheetah. I was like, okay, Maxwell Lord's next, and then I will say that with every movie in 2020. I made my expectations really low, and I may have put my expectations a little too high for this one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
you're right in the sense, like, our battle was going to be with Cheetah. That's
Yeah.
the only fight that we could really have, because
Maxwell
again,
Lord can't fight, right?
well, no, it's not. No, I wouldn't say that. At least in this portrayal, in the sense of he's got influence, but it's not the same influence that some of us are used to seeing in the comics. That would be different, and that's where it leads to the neck snapping idea. And so I never expected we were going to get a long out, drag out fight between her. It was going to be a battle, quote unquote, of wits. And that's what I expected to be, and I wanted the Cheetah battle. We got 2 different kinds of Cheetah battles: pre Apex Predator and then the Apex Predator at that point. So it met my expectation sense of what we were getting this whole movie as. I wanted more, but I accepted it for what it was. Go ahead, Travis.
Oh, and that's where I think I'm somewhere kind of in the middle of all this. That I think there is some convoluted stuff as far as like with Greg, as far as like, okay, the touching of wishes and how do people get all that. That's kind of like, okay, you kind of do some headcanon. And I agree with Chris as far as Cheetah was that physical confrontation. I didn't love the fight. I think it was, a little too dark. And I also just think it did hurt Barbara, because I felt like in the back half, she just got supplanted to, you're going to be the final battle, and all her character development stuff went way other than, okay, I want to be stronger than you. But I liked the ending as far as talking him down, because it's Maxwell Lord, but like Greg, like they could easily just write something and he's like all powerful and he could be super buff and he could fight now. And I like that they didn't do that, because I don't love the movie.
That would have
but
been literally a carbon copy of what we got in the first one.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad they
comes
didn't
in
do
as
that.
this small little scrawny
Yeah.
guy, and then all of a sudden he's Ares.
Yeah.
You know,
And Patty didn't want to do that in the first one. They made her do,
Yeah.
and that's why it's a movie that I don't love in the MCU. But that's why I love the Doctor Strange. I've come here to bargain. I love the small scale he uses his
I
wits.
love that scene.
Yeah, and that's just why I
Yeah.
like this is because she's not Superman who I'm sorry, Man of Steel. It's just I'm gonna hit you. If that didn't work, I'm gonna hit harder. And this is no, I'm not gonna do the same way as the boys. I'm not gonna do the same thing as like I just gotta get a bigger bomb. It's like, no, I'm gonna use what I've learned over the years, my influence. And that's what I think with Maxwell. Yeah, it's everyone had to see it first. So it almost came like a rushing emotions back to him to go, he's not alone in all this. There's other people that are thousands of miles away, but feel just as low or lower than him. And then he obviously sees his son. So I think there is some weird stuff, as like I said, like how does this all work? I didn't love the satellite thing. It reminded me of the Riddler and Batman Forever when he's sitting there in the chair and he's getting all the mind. Like when Pedro's like yelling at the sky, all I
Waiting
saw
for
was
the belt.
shit. I was like, oh no, but I loved the emotional side of that before, as far as she's gonna talk him down, and it worked because at the end of the day, his son did me more. Again, I wish there was more with the son, but that worked. That emotional side worked for me because I didn't need a big boss battle for me. We got that with Cheetah. I wish it was a little bit better, but that's
And just
was
the
good.
added emotion, even though they've kind of got revealed and we were wondering where it was going to be placed, and I thought it was perfectly placed where it was. The Beautiful Lie, the score of that being there. I
It's
thought that
so ironic what the title of that is compared to what she was speaking.
yeah.
She was speaking truth, and the song is called "Beautiful Lie."
Well, in the sense of like their own lives that they're trying to live out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Travis, I wanted to comment on something you said there, where you were comparing to the Doctor Strange. I've come to bargain scene. It's not the same. Doctor Strange did not talk Dormammu down. He bargained with him and tricked him. There's a difference whenever
But
you have
he
a
didn't
villain
really
where
bargain.
the
He just really annoyed him until it was
right,
just
right.
like,
But there's
I
a
just mean
difference
it
whenever
didn't
you
come
have
down
the
to a fight. That's what I mean. Like I like when a movie, it doesn't come
I get
down
that.
to I have to be stronger than Dormammu. I have to be more powerful. It was she's using talking him down, getting to his emotional side. Doctor Strange is being a little trickster, but that's what I mean. Like the confrontation is, it didn't come down to fist versus fist.
Right.
That's what I like. Yeah.
Well, my biggest issue with it was the entire movie. You're supposed to believe this is all Maxwell Lord wants is this power, and then more and more and more, and he keeps saying it. And you can obviously tell that his son is not as big of a priority in his life. He cares for him, but not as big of a priority. He takes a helicopter from the White House to this underground bunker where he's going to be broadcasting
he told
his
his
signal.
son he was going to get the helicopter.
Yeah, and exactly. And then all of a sudden, he's changed his entire mindset from the speech given to him by a woman he's never met or met once. Okay, and then all of a sudden, his son happens to be in the same field he's in whenever he goes to find him. Like
Well,
I was like, wait
But
a
it was
second.
outside of
This
his
is just
It's the dealing with, well, the son got really scared at the office because people were barging in. He ran away. That was
Yeah.
part of the vision that the Lasso was showing him. Now, as far as I would assume headcanon, I mean, because you can only have so much in a movie,
Mhm.
but he told the pilot, hey, I'm looking for my son. Like, and all of a sudden they see him, like probably on the way to the office, like, oh crap, there he
Maybe.
is. Please just get me down there.
Maybe.
But as far as like, oh, the woman that he barely met, I'm starting to understand it now, like through everybody else talking about this. I think I probably will see it with new eyes if I watch it again.
Mhm.
But Diana's
A
words
little bit.
are probably a lot stronger just by the sense of like, okay, you've seen what I can do with my fists. Like, just listen to me, hear me
Yeah.
out, and let me show you what you are doing to the one person that you care about.
I hear you. I just feel like most people like talk. It feels like talking the entire world down. At this point, Maxwell Lord has almost made everybody make a wish. Talking the entire world down is not going to happen because you got that's going on the assumption that everybody's making a nefarious wish.
And
Like, what about the people whose parents have, or the parents whose kids have terminal cancer, and their wish is, I would give up my life for my kid to live. Because I go ahead and tell you, I got two
But
kids.
what if-
I would do that?
I
And you know
it's
what?
not-
I wouldn't
it's-
rescind that
it's
wish. I
not-
wouldn't do it.
But it's not your decision. It was Maxwell Lord's decision
Yeah, and
on
I think
what
that
you're giving up.
That's
the
true.
And
question is
let her say-
answered with
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, the question is answered with Steve and Diana's issue, right?
Okay.
Where
Mhm.
she wished him to come back. It's like the logic in this movie is sort of like things are meant to go a certain way, and we're meant to have losses and grief, and we need to learn how to like process and go through them and continue with life. So I think even wishing for things that are good, they get corrupted in this world. So
Yes.
you would
Okay.
rescind the wish because
Which
of
is
the
why
cost.
Travis on Geekverse had a giant conversation of if the coffee man had to sit on the toilet for like the rest of the movie because all he asked for was a cup of coffee.
But he
No.
didn't sit in the toilet the rest of the movie. He was in the office the second time we see
I know, I'm
Barbara.
It might
I'm just
come
saying,
later.
like-
Like Diana right away wasn't hurt, right? It took a few days for her to get willed down. So that monkey's paw will
Which-
eventually.
that's another thing. So she wishes. I know we're going backwards here, but she wishes Trevor back, and then the watch starts ticking. Like, what was that correlation?
Those
Did the
watches
watch
wind
stop?
up, don't they? Don't they wind up? It's an old watch.
But,
They don't
but
have
that's what I'm saying.
batteries.
Like, did that just
Yeah.
stop when
I think that
Trevor
was just
died,
symbolic.
and then it came back?
It was
was
just
symbolic,
magic.
yeah,
Yeah, it
symbolic,
was something
yeah.
symbolic. Yeah.
Which I didn't know
Yeah.
Trevor that there was Trevor or Farms. I didn't know that his family lineage was a ranchers.
I think he said it in the first
yeah,
movie.
he did
Did
say
he?
it in the first
Okay.
movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just forgot then.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more thing to talk about. Then we're going to do some grades and anything else you guys want to talk about. I want to ask, how does this movie coincide with the BVS version of Wonder Woman? What's that going to do for the future?
I think
gosh.
Here's the
Joe
big
said
question.
it pretty well. Of course, it's to each their own. I think one of the biggest things that I have learned in 2020 and just in comic book films in general, even in comic books, is if you want to make it canon, you make it canon. I'm pretty sure Zack Snyder himself has said, if you want to make it canon, it's all up to you. But the way Joe was explaining it, now that we know this happened in 1984 between the first Wonder Woman movie and BVS, it makes it that much more important that she gets that picture back
Okay.
from Lex
Yeah,
Luthor.
maybe. I guess that didn't hit me as much. I feel like the picture it still worked for me when I saw the first Wonder Woman.
It still does, but now
Yeah.
you have an extra layer of she got a second chance with Steve,
Mhm.
and so this is her seeing him again and reliving that moment again, and her love for him.
She should have taken some Polaroids.
Yeah, they were there.
You know? They were there.
She just needs to make
then again, it
digital
would have been the other.
copies.
It would have been the
Yeah, it would have
Hallmark
been the
guy.
other dude.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
And I
Just random
with-
dude in all your photos, Diana. Oh, it's a long story.
that's not what I see though.
The 80s were a
It's
crazy
okay.
time.
I can cheat. It's not what I see
He
it
just
as.
like
Yeah.
takes another picture and posts his
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Or cuts his head off
Photoshop.
and puts
Yeah.
photoshops his head onto it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think this movie is very much like Thor Ragnarok is for some people, and I think for you, Greg, where you love Thor in other movies, but you don't like Thor in Thor Ragnarok because he's too goofy, he's too dumb, he's too this. And I don't think she's that in this movie, but I think the type of tone they go for this movie might turn some of those really hardcore BVS people fans away. I felt like for me that I didn't see much correlation. To me, this was Patty. I'm making a film, and I'm not saying she's throwing shade at Zach, but just stop making conspiracies.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't really care.
Don't imply that.
Yeah, it's just that I just
They're
think
still
she's like,
producers, it's fine.
I'm making a movie for myself, and whatever happens next, great. You guys can flashpoint that, you can retcon that, because technically she's retconning, in my opinion, some stuff from BVS. So in turn, they could say, well, we could do that too. Then the next movie you could see, like, that never happened in 1984. Flashpoint's about to run through time and change everything. So that's why it's
Good
like,
point.
it's continuity schmonity in
Maybe,
sort of
maybe.
way. Yeah, but I
Now we're
mean, but they
going-
have
now
that
we're going-
option.
big
right?
thing is the really big thing, especially now that I've actually heard Patty Jenkins' story with her father and
Mhm.
how that very much like shows in this movie about how like it was probably really hard for her to just like be okay with like and I know she's probably not okay with her dad being gone, but you can see where her heart is in this movie. And you know that she is a huge Richard Darder fan. We see the whole flight sequence. We
Mhm.
see the end of the movie, you know, with Wonder Woman flying. My personal thing is that I didn't like how bright, like the sun reflecting on the clouds was just too much for me in those scenes. But I know where Patty's heart was in this film. And so I will never knock that for sure.
and with that flight sequence, you know, people have been knocking that left and right. It's like, it's again, must we go back to Man of Steel? How did you know Clark like figure out flight? That's, you know, it wasn't supposed to be perfect. He wasn't supposed to be doing it the smoothest way.
He
at that
rate.
ran
Figure
into
it
a
out,
freaking
you know?
mountain.
I know, yeah. So I mean, I accepted it, and I liked hearing how she was thinking about what it was like for, you know, what is flying for Steve. That's what she's holding on to
Yeah.
in teaching her in her mind at that point. But you know, with the whole idea of coinciding with BVS and Wonder Woman, you know, Zach's even said, like, this is my Elseworld. This is what it is. This is my little thing. Everything that's come after, they're doing their own thing. He even called out Aquaman. That's not necessarily part of it. Yeah, they make reference to it, but as far as what they're doing, it's not necessarily was the plan moving forward with that.
Right.
That's okay. And you know what? One, I want present day Wonder Woman at that point.
So
and
does
if,
Gal.
and if at that point we make reference to Zack Snyder's Justice League, we don't. Guess what? I get a trilogy Wonder Woman. Come on, we get
Mhm.
3
Yeah.
films, and Pat. It's now confirmed. Patty's directing it. Gal's back at that point, and let's
Right
just
now.
celebrate that
Yeah,
fact.
we'll
And-
see.
Right.
I
but
feel it's a
I'm
very
just-
political timing of that announcement to be
But-
like, oh, last week Patty's like, I don't know if I'll direct third. And like, no, she's directing it. It's like, let's see where we are in 3
But-
years. I don't
But
know.
I'm just saying, like, the idea that we get a third movie, whatever
Yes.
shakes out, it should be
Correct.
that. And again, this is going to be a movie that I think, again, Jeff Johns is not going to be a part of it. And this is going to be something that we may get finally. I hope Patty
Is it
continues on.
100% confirmed?
No, I'm hoping
Yeah.
that Jeff Johns
Yeah.
is not going to be a part of it, and that we get, you know, we've heard so much fight with the first with these two movies, with Patty trying to fight for certain things and going back and forth with writing in certain scenes. I hope we finally get, you know, you can't always get what you want. I'm not saying she's going to get everything that she wants, but the things, she has to stop these little fights. She has proven that she can do these movies.
Mhm.
Speaking of Patty, real quick, does anybody else find it weird that she complained a lot about having her movie coming out on streaming and how she's on that side of movies coming out in the theaters only?
I mean,
and the day
it's-
after the movie comes out, she has a live stream watch along on
That's
said
part of-
streaming
That's
network.
fine.
it's
Like, what else
it's
you
just
got?
part of
Come on.
marketing. It's PR.
yeah, I know
it's
she's gonna say,
marketing.
fuck off. I'm not
And-
doing this.
I mean, we
She
we
wants to
also
promote.
Screw you
saw,
fans.
we also
Yeah.
saw with the announcement of the third movie,
Yes.
oh, it's going to be 100% theatrical.
Which
Like-
I'm totally
Well,
down for
she
that.
said classic theatrical. That doesn't mean it won't be
Traditional,
streaming. But my
traditional.
point is,
That's
Travis,
part
you're
of
right.
her deal.
That's
Yeah.
that's my thing. My
Yeah.
point is,
Yeah.
you're right. What's she gonna say? You know, screw you guys. I'm not gonna do this or break the contract. But that shows you how truly, truly passionate they are when they say this stuff. If you're
Yeah,
that
she's not a
truly
Scott
passionate,
Lobdell,
if you're
like-
trying to make it out to be, you'll say fuck the money,
Yeah.
and you won't do it. But you're not that truly passionate when it comes to making your money. That's all I'm saying.
We'll see, because I think
So-
it's there. I agree with Chris. It's in her deal for this next third one. But if HBO, they're all praising, saying, "Oh, it went really well." In 2 years, if they sit her down and you go, you know what, HBO Max is going really well. We want to do Wonder Woman 3 over here, and day and date. I could see there being a split up. It is to me like couples therapy right now. Like, oh yeah, we're trying to work it out, and it's all great on the outside, and maybe it is. But literally a week ago, she was like, I don't even know if I'll do the third one. Not because there was 2 quotes. There was the one where she said, "Oh, I need a different story," but then there was one like, I don't even know what I'm going to do if it stays this way. So it's appeasing her
Mhm.
now, and I think they want to get back to theater. But at the same time, if this is working out, the public likes it. Yeah, it's a tough road. So I think it's a good thing
Yeah,
now.
And,
But
and she's not
goes, buddy.
necessarily. And you know what? She's doing what she's done before. She's speaking out, but not necessarily pulling a Chris Nolan and
Yeah.
lambasting and
She's not writing it
firebombing.
True.
She is saying her truth in the sense she is not happy. This was not her plan, and the fact that she's had to, in many ways, not just waiting basically 2 years for this movie. I mean, again, this is a very painful thing for everyone on the cast to have to go through, that this should have been out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
different in the interview. She's getting asked about this. Where Nolan, Denis, they're coming out with, "Here's my diatribe of what's
That
going
is
on."
true.
She's
and
impressed to her.
Yeah,
you
and so again, like if I were a student, yes, you're gonna have to tolerate me saying things that I'm unhappy about, but I understand enough in this game that I still want a career, and I'm not necessarily gonna be fully, I'll say what I want, but I'm not gonna just firebomb the whole thing.
You'll
It's not
walk
worth
that
it. to me.
line.
Yeah.
Walk that line real quick.
Yeah,
And-
and I know that we didn't say this like really like in the midst of our review, but I mean, Patty Jenkins said that she wants to either do a Superman, Spider-Man, or
Mhm.
Black Widow movie.
Oh, I'd love to
be
see her do a
down with
Black
her
Widow movie.
jumping
Yeah,
Or
Marvel
not
she-
Black Widow,
and jumping
Spider-Woman
on
movie.
Spider-Man.
I'll take
Yeah.
Rogue Squadron right now and continue
Exactly.
watching it. Come on.
Take Rogue
Well,
Squadron.
and even
Yeah.
then with that article, the thing that just made my eyes perk up when it said it was being fast tracked. She has 2 movies that she's making right now that aren't Wonder Woman. It's a Cleopatra movie and then Rogue Squadrons. Rogue Squadrons is coming out 2023. If the earliest, if let's say unless she pushes stuff aside, Wonder Woman 3 won't come out to 2024. That's not a fast track.
Unless Cleopatra and Wonder Woman 3
Correct.
film at the
Yeah.
exact same
And-
time.
And
Yeah.
and here's the other thing too. They to your point, Travis, the word
She
fast
goes to
track.
Egypt.
The word fast
Yeah.
track is a sense of they need to get this out there right now
Yes.
Right.
to stop the whole
Yep.
conversation of whether any of them are coming back.
And
Yeah, they wanna
also,
get
it,
news
it
out
makes
there.
it look like this weekend, which I'm not saying it wasn't, but it makes it look like it was an uber success. I remember Iron Man when that released, the Sunday Marvel came out and said, "We're doing Iron Man 2. Get ready, in 2 years you're going to see it." This does that same thing of, oh well, people must really like this Wonder Woman. If they haven't rented it or gone to it,
Get the
I'm going to
subs,
get it.
get the subs.
Yeah,
Get the
they're
subs.
making a
Mhm.
third one. I can invest in this. It's not like Birds of Prey where it's like it's in limbo of like we may never see those characters barring Harley Quinn ever again. Where this is like, oh, I feel comfortable spending $30 because I know I'm going to see Diana Prince, Patty Jenkins in a few more years. So I think it's like it's a fully business move and it's a
Oh, yeah.
smart one. Does it pan out in the future? That's what we get to find out.
Yeah.
I have one more thing that I meant to talk about before that I just want to bring up real quick. And Chris, you talking about the flying scene brought this up in my mind. I would believe the fly. I didn't enjoy the flying scene. Great, it looked okay. Okay, Wonder Woman flies. Okay, cool. I would take that over the Steve Trevor finding a jet that works in the Smithsonian and knowing how to
Yes,
work it.
fully fueled,
Knowing
ready to
how to
go.
work it.
No,
fully
the
fueled.
idea,
No,
and I
that
know,
was fun.
I know
Oh.
that you guys are going to be like, oh, it's Diana. She is somewhat, a god, whatever. Her being able to magically turn something invisible,
When she's only done it once in 50
I'm
years, and she
right
lost
there
the
with
coffee
you,
cup.
Clay.
I
Yeah.
hated that part. Like,
Yeah.
Who taught
that
her
was
how?
that-
Who taught
all-
her how to do it?
Zeus.
Nobody.
no. She said that she taught herself.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
because her father did it. But
Yep.
that was total fan service to have the invisible jet.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
total fan service.
absolutely
All it
a
was.
pilot.
He doesn't know how to
a
fly it, though. That's
no,
the
no,
thing.
a
Like, what's the point
pilot-
of having it?
A pilot
Yeah, yeah.
decides to, hey, I'm gonna go fly into this large vast of exploding things.
Right.
Oh yeah, that was total like
Safety.
who does
here.
that?
Come on now.
Mm.
Yeah, the invisible
Oh, it,
is silly no matter what.
it, was- it was.
thought it was a
Yeah,
cool
there's
awesome.
no way to
Yeah.
make that work. And it
It was
like
also one of the. But it was one of those things like, oh, she's really impressed by that. I'm going to impress her more, dude. You're already banging a god. You don't have to impress her anymore.
Right. Yeah. Stop.
I didn't have any
you
problem
have
with
reached
the-
that level.
I didn't have any problem with the flight scene and the invisible jet thing. I thought it was cool because it's like these are things in comic books. It's like she's
Yeah.
established she's working on it. I know you guys brought up Man of Steel where he falls into a mountain, but then guess what? Clark gets up and he's a fucking savant at flying all of a sudden. So it's like, no, he is. He's
Takes a
going
moment.
around. He's landing perfectly.
He wiggles.
He wiggles, but same thing. He struggled to get it. It's just a jet. Like it's a tip of the nod to. I don't see her sitting in the cockpit in the next movie, like flying around. It's just like, hey, this is something from a generation that tons of people love. They
Yeah.
know who they're catering
Yeah.
this to. Linda Carter was in this movie, so it's not like I'd rather take some. It doesn't. I don't think it really hurts it. I think it just hurts us sometimes. Fanboys and fangirls go, well, she's only practiced it a little bit. It's just like
I love that
it's the
voice.
same
We
shit
do
we
this
got
the
with
podcast
Ray,
in
where
that
it's
voice.
just like,
Oh, is that what I
my
sound like?
well,
I will say
I've done
this,
it too
I
before
told
where I go,
this-
this doesn't make any sense. But when
I
it's just like
told-
at the end of the day, it's just let's have some fun with it. And if it
Gotta have
bugs
some
you, I
fun
guess it
sometimes.
bugs
Well,
you.
how many of you guys were like surprised when you even like the mention of the invisible
I
jet?
was. Oh, I was like,
No,
So we were sitting there
was.
like,
trailer.
I
thought
rolled my
there was-
eyes.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah, you're right, the
Whenever I
trailer.
saw in the trailer
see,
that
I
they
didn't
were
see
in
the last
some
trailers.
sort
I
of
only
flying
saw-
thing, I was like, oh, that's the invisible jet.
When
Yeah.
they're looking at the sky, I'm like, they're in the invisible jet. How else would they be that close to those fireworks? That's what
Yeah.
I thought.
I forgot about that shot. So I was like, they're doing it. Oh my god, I can't believe this. Like,
yeah, that never
I
crossed
told-
my
I
mind.
told-
Can't even
honestly,
see
I
it.
was
I told
like,
Snell
there's
this
no
and I
way.
told Joe this. I stopped the movie midway through our first viewing, and I told my wife, I said, hey, by the way, Linda Carter is going to be in the mid-credit scene. I bet you anything. And the movie, the movie ended, and she's like, oh my gosh, look, there she is. That's a beautiful dress. My wife was like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful dress. She picks up the thing, and then Linda Carter turns around, and she's like, oh, how did you know? I was like, honestly, it was just a guess. Like,
Wait, there's
I
a
guessed it.
credit scene? I watched all the credits. I didn't see
yeah,
it.
there isn't a mid-credit scene, so you might want to go watch
Yeah,
that.
you need to go back
You
and watch
missed
that.
it, Greg?
I must
Are
have
you
Oh.
kidding me? Did I just spoil it?
Yeah, you
crap.
did.
Because
It's fine.
That's
It's-
amazing.
It's fine.
So-
I
Greg.
even went through the. I watched this credits today to watch that and make sure
Not
it must
close
have been
enough.
like a 1
Yeah.
second
Wow.
walk away.
That's real
Yeah.
bad.
How did you miss it?
I
My
don't know.
girlfriend, the minute that they showed Asteria, and that's who Linda Carter
Mhm.
is.
That's what Travis
Asteria.
said.
The eyes gave it away. Those
Eyes,
are very
okay,
iconic
that's cool.
eyes.
That's-
I
a
didn't
cool
realize
concept.
it right away, but
I
that's-
noticed it on my second
yeah,
watch.
same,
on my
but
second
that's
watch.
after you knew though. So.
Yeah.
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 What about the golden armor? Anybody have any issues with that?
No,
I
no,
did
no.
have an
I had an
issue.
issue with her putting it on because she already had her powers at that point. And I know it's for like, oh, well, Cheetah now has her powers, but Diana didn't know
I
that.
think it was all symbolism. I just feel like it was all symbolism.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fact that it was really going to help her in the long run. I just felt like it was the symbolism of when you learned the story of the golden armor and then what she was Asteria, what she gave up,
Mhm.
and all the Amazons coming together and creating this for her. And it was, to me, it was just totally symbolism. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
I could have done without it. I mean, I don't think that was really something that we had to have in that final battle because I think it probably would have came out the same way.
Mhm.
But I do feel like because you had told that story, it's kind of like you get the mythology of it and you get the history, which that's what I love about these movies. You do get the peppering of the mythology
Mhm.
within it. And
Well,
Yeah,
see,
I'm
that-
really glad we got the explanation of where it came from, and it wasn't just oh look, it's the armor from Kingdom
Right.
Come. Because
Mhm.
why?
then
Like,
you-
But you
and
know
you
what? I
see it
did
one
like
time
at the
at
end.
least
They gave
beforehand.
they gave special thanks to almost every person that's had an influence, including Mark Wade and Alex Ross. For
Yes,
that. I don't think
they
they're
did
getting
not.
money for it. I
No,
don't think they're
probably
getting
not.
any money for it.
No,
but
I
they
they
at
think
least
Wade
got
still
that
is
back.
trying to wait for that check.
So I just saw on Twitter earlier today, Liam Sharp, who was the artist who did Rebirth with Rucka. He is not on that special thanks.
Mm.
And he was like,
Mm.
I don't know if I should be mad about it. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. But Dan Jurgens, he kind of consoled him and was like, oh, don't worry about it. It happened to me too in BVS. So,
Yeah, and they did call it enough. You're right. I did notice Liam was missing from that too. Yeah.
I have an
He's like-
issue with.
He's
with
like, I
the-
also didn't like the invisible jet too, and that's it. No.
Yeah. I have an issue with the Golden Eagle armor because it's described as that they gave all their armor up at Themyscira to create this suit that was going to be strong enough to defend
That's
the entire race of man. And Cheetah,
yeah, from
fucks
the
it.
like
Cheetah fucks it up.
32 BC.
Cheetah is not
I
a
mean,
man, sir.
No, okay, but Cheetah is not a
Cheetah is
man,
a
but
Cheetah is
Cheetah
a woman.
You're telling
I
me
am
that
no
Cheetah
man.
is stronger than the entire race of man?
No,
Like,
okay,
I
that's-
get that she's strong, but the entire race
She's
of
a
man.
fucking cheetah monster, dude. She'd kick
You
all our
have, hey,
asses.
you have a wife.
That's true.
Women
That's true.
are completely
Okay, yeah, you're right. I can see
different
this argument.
race.
Yep, you're right.
But that's, I mean, that's you
I
could
am
say that's a
She-Ra.
callback to the nice. That's a callback to Diana saying, or Chris telling Diana she can't cross the land because it's no man's land.
Yeah.
and she's like, I'm no man, and she walks and she just
Okay.
dominates. I mean, that's really
a god.
comparison.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
but-
more than her being a woman, she's a god. Yeah.
Well, yes,
I
Sorry.
can totally get the symbolism in it now that you've explained it totally. But for when I first saw it, I was like, why does she want to wear the armor if she now has her powers? That was
Right.
something that just felt very surface level, and I don't like that Sarah is very much like exposing me as a very surface level movie goer. So I think I'm just gonna go home now and
You are home.
go to
Look.
sleep.
Tuck your tail and run.
I agree though. I thought she was gonna wear the armor before she got her powers back.
Right.
I did
Yes,
think
yeah.
that for so
Mhm.
I mean I can definitely see where you're coming from there.
She was just so worried she had
Thank
to
you,
double
Lisa.
up. Like, you know what? I just got them back. I'm putting this on too.
We're gonna like
Brand new right
tenfold
now,
here.
a little sensitive. We gotta
We're
It's
gonna
recharge.
like
own
after-
this. Own it.
Yeah, and it's like obviously it wasn't a breakup, but she lost Steve. We've done that after a breakup. Where it's like, you know what? I just need to like change my hair color. I need to buy
Yeah,
something
there
cool.
you
And she's like, I'm gonna put on that fucking suit.
Right.
It's been sitting in
Dude,
my closet for
give
so
me
long.
some
I'm putting it
gold.
on. I don't care.
last
You
time
know?
when I got divorced from my wife, I went out and got like so much Chinese food. So I get it.
Exactly. That was your golden
Totally
eagle.
makes sense.
How
Yeah.
crazy was it? She just had it sitting in the house. It was like just covered up, just sitting in the house.
It was
Just
in
her
that back
apartment.
room. It's fine. Back room with all those TVs she said she didn't have.
Exactly.
Well,
Well,
hey,
that was cool. She's like, "Oh, I don't have one."
Yeah, no, she has.
True.
Those are not those. I wouldn't call those
Those
TVs.
are not
They're surveillance
TVs.
cameras.
Those
They're
are
surveillance
monitors.
now.
Yeah.
Hey, remember,
she's picking up off of like a future Batman.
Maxwell
Yeah.
Lord's
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
great deal with Sears. He can get you a 19 color TV.
Okay,
like
that's what I
19
did put that in the notes.
19
Does WB still have a like partnership with Sears? Because first it was Man of Steel, now this. Like,
Oh,
They're propping them up with
as a
these
dying
movies.
company.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that in the 80s, Sears was
Yeah.
really big.
They
Sears
were
is where
really
you went to go
big,
get everything,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
That's
but
back
what
when
about
you went to a
2000?
department store for everything, like different
Right.
department stores. Yeah.
Did you see the JC Penney in the mall?
Yes.
Hey, hey, you know,
That's
they
true.
had a
I did
revamping
notice
when
that
they
one.
did that whole softer side of Sears. You know, there they are.
They had Walden Books in that mall too.
Yes.
that was nice.
Gosh.
Well, is there anything else y'all want to bring up? Because I've only got one thing left, really, and that's going to be the grade, and then, well, two things. I guess the grade and the food question. So, is there anything else y'all want to bring up? Talk about Wonder Woman open platform here.
So I put in my notes the Hallmark movie guy for the Hallmark movie ending where they're at Christmas.
Oh, the Macy's commercial?
Yeah, I kind
That
of
scarf.
I ca-
No, the
I kind of
balloon.
expect
The
those-
Macy's balloon.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. Which why would a little girl let the balloon go? Just want to say, why would a little
because
girl?
Greg.
she's dumb. No, like
She
How-
said tied to the wrist.
Right.
no,
Loop
like
it around your
I
wrist.
kind of assumed that they would maybe have a connection and maybe he would introduce himself and maybe they would go off and maybe do
Mm.
like
She's
Just
already
some-
slept with him. She doesn't want
I
I
anything
don't
to
want
do with him.
that.
Well, she's already slept with him technically. So
Been
like,
there,
Not
done
really,
that.
though,
Little
but
brown
yeah.
chicken, brown cow.
he
Didn't
doesn't know
quit it.
that.
Didn't even
Quit
said
it.
do
Just
it.
like, mm-mm.
Or does he? We don't know.
Yeah.
That's
He
right.
was
We
watching.
think
He
too
was the
hard.
creeper in the corner, watching it the entire time. No. You got
That was his wish to be
Yeah.
Steve Trevor.
But he was wearing the outfit that she liked.
That's true.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, I
Check
can't
that
believe
out.
none of us mentioned any of that. Which was one of the best scenes in the movie was the outfit trying on.
Yeah.
Uh,
You gotta
great
have an
comedic
outfit.
relief.
Love that
Yeah.
fanny
She
bag.
That's another
Love-
80s like montage outfits. You gotta have those. Yeah.
There were a lot of really 80s references in this movie that I loved. The
Oh,
19-inch TV
like,
screen.
these shoes.
That's
I
one
have
thing.
Steve
Yep, there you
Trevor's
go.
shoes.
Dude,
So
he
one
had
thing,
props ready to go.
one thing that I told Travis, and I told my wife this, it's unfortunate that like 1984 was literally just the title and the aesthetic. Like it wasn't prominent in the movie. And so I felt like it wasn't prominent to the story of the movie. It could literally
Okay.
be any other time. It could be
No,
the
the Cold
90s. It
War.
could be
I think-
the 2010s. Like it could still work in any other time. And I just felt like in that
I don't, did-
1984
did you
was a good
see
excuse
the
to put the aesthetic
jazzercising
in it.
in the mall. Like
I
there
got
was
sold on
that, there was
that.
that
I got
guy
sold
in
on
the
that.
background getting yelled at by his girlfriend. Like that was perfect 80s.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I
saying,
think-
like, it's a good excuse to put all those things in there for
Yeah, no,
sure.
yeah.
But it wasn't like, oh, this movie does not work if it's not 1984.
right.
I
Well,
think it doesn't.
I think it does though. I think it
Yeah.
does because think about all the excesses in the 80s. Think about
Yes.
the haves and the have-nots
With all
because
the
a lot
oil
of
you didn't
times,
have.
you know, well, yeah, that too. I mean, it was, you know, there was a big difference in some of the economic type things, you know, like
Yeah.
the social and all this, that, and other. And it's just like everybody had all these excesses.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about that, I was like, okay, well, why 84? Because that's the 80s are not something that you want. No. But you know, like just the like the clothing and the, you know, it's just the, everything that people want. Just like, you know, the one dude saying he's like, I want a Porsche, you know, because everybody wanted a Porsche then. I mean, really,
all
who
got a
wants a
Porsche.
Porsche now? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's just like some of those things, or you know, it's, you know, like with Maxwell wanted you know, in the oil futures and all this kind of stuff, you know, he wanted to be a, you know, big shot and all this, whatever. So, I mean, that was at the time, well, like I said, excess was king.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, taking all these wishes, it was like a prime time for everybody to say, okay, well, you know, I want this, I want that, you know, and because honestly, a lot of the wishes they had, I mean, even, you know, with the government, you know, the president, why in the hell would you want to have more nukes? I mean, that's, you know, why not world peace? Why not something like, why would you specifically want to have more nukes? I mean, that's crazy, which I realize
That's
it's Cold
kind of
War,
what
but,
we did, though. That's
Uh,
kind
yeah,
of.
but that's
yeah.
the thing about it. I mean,
That time
honestly,
period
if you
because of
have
what
one
was
wish, that's
happening.
the one thing, you're the leader of basically the free world. And the only thing you want to wish for is more nukes.
Yeah,
For
'cause
sure.
we
If
want
you
to
don't-
take down
if
the
you don't
Soviets.
If you don't believe world peace is actually possible, then yeah, I assume that.
But you see where I'm going with this. I mean, it's like
you
that.
only get peace.
Yeah, again, Sarah, you're rational.
Right,
Oh,
exactly. You're
right.
thinking
Is
very
that a
rational.
compliment?
Yes, it is. It actually is a compliment. You're
Yeah.
rational.
Mhm.
And I think because of what was going on politically at the time, that's
Mhm.
why the wishes kind of played into that. And
Yeah.
we're like far enough away to where it's kind of controversial for some people, but also we can look back and be like, well, that was a bad time and bad decisions were made, and we can all kind of agree now that that wasn't good. And so like I think it was safe to like pick the 80s to do
But then
that.
what's also to show, like with these excesses and with all these wishes, is show how your selfishness could create this chaos, how
Yeah.
it could basically tear down civilization.
Right, right.
And
And we
there's-
were afraid of that back then.
No similarities
literally.
today.
Yeah, there's
None
nothing
at
similar
all.
today. You know, the
Yeah,
the
exactly.
wealth
But, you know.
distribution, the chaos. Yeah,
But if
we-
they
we-
did it today,
Hey,
it
we
would
don't
be
do politics in
very
this show.
controversial.
But man, like I said, if
You're
you
in
have
the
a
wrong
volatile
movies then.
situation like that, you have a volatile situation, whether it's political, whether it's economic, whether it's socio-economic, whatever it is. And then if you have people that are wishing just craziness, just not really craziness, but like things that are
Yeah.
unobtainable.
Well,
you
they're
know,
wishing for themselves to be at the top.
that
And if
selfishness,
everybody's
because
wishing
you
to be at the
can't
top,
have everything.
Nobody's at the top.
Yes,
Right.
you can't
Yeah,
have
nobody can be at the
everything you
top.
want. You just
Yeah.
cannot have everything.
And that maybe the answer is not.
Sometimes, the
lot
philosopher
of
Jagger
war.
said that.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
You have anything else? Anybody got
We're
anything we
good.
didn't bring up you want to talk about?
Nope. I think I'm good.
Well, I have two more questions for tonight. We'll start real quick with the grade. We're going to go 1 through 10. Of course, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Give this movie a grade. I'm not going to ask your DCEU ranking because that's going to take a little while to sit down and really look at. I may need to watch it a time or two again before I decide it's
I think I
near
need
the
to
bottom
do a full
or at
rewatch.
the
I
bottom.
haven't seen
So
those movies
I
in
did do a
while.
full rewatch. Nobody else did.
I watched Wonder Woman. That's all I.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
That's
I
fair.
watched
No,
Wonder
no, I
Woman
had
better.
time at
Yes.
work,
Better.
so it's all good.
Mhm.
So let's do a 1 through 10 score. Travis, I'm gonna start with you, buddy. 1 through 10.
Seven are movies that I give that I enjoyed and I'll go back to, but didn't reach the kind of 8 and 9 are these ones that I'll watch multiple times and things like that. So it's a 7 as of right now. I really enjoyed it. I will go back to. I think I will definitely watch it one more time before the 31 days is done. But yeah, at times a little messy. I like the themes they're going for. Good performances. And this doesn't really hurt my. If all things go to plan, hopefully she does direct a third one. Everyone comes back. I'm still very excited for that. It didn't reach the high and valleys as the first one, but I was never expecting that. And I still liked this enough or to a degree that I'm still excited for more. So 7 out of 10 for me.
Sarah, what you got?
I'll give it an 8.
8?
Yes. Because
All
this Wonder Woman, I love it. Like I said, it's not as great as the first one, but I still feel like it's beautifully made and I feel like it's something I can still watch over and over again. It's just because Gal Gadot is just the Wonder Woman that I have just been waiting for. I mean, I'm
She
just a
nails that role.
fangirl gush all over. I mean, it's just, but I mean, I like the story. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I really enjoy it and what it kind of brings to this, the message it brings to this time. So it's kind of, to me, it's almost kind of timeless.
Lisa, what do you think? Great.
Yeah, I think an 8 too, because I
Okay.
feel like I will watch this more often. I know we're not ranking all the DC movies, but I think more often than some of the other ones for sure. And I love the themes in the movie, and I like the sort of like Care Bear stare kind of energy to the whole thing. I like that. So I just am a sucker for it, and I love Gal Gadot, and I think Patty Jenkins is a great director, and I found this really entertaining, and I needed some entertainment these days. So maybe that's coloring my view of it too. But
Or at least a high
I really
five.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
High five.
Hey, what you think?
Well, I will say the last comic book movie I saw before this in 2020 was Bloodshot. This is so much better than Bloodshot.
Dude. Okay.
So
I like that movie, but that's totally different.
But I'm from what I saw with my wife the 2 times that we watched it, I'm gonna give it a 6. Now, with all of the criticism that we talked about, I will see it with new eyes. I will try to watch it again within the 31 days. I'm still going to purchase this movie because I purchase every single comic book movie except for Bloodshot.
Dude, I got a
but
list
yeah,
for you.
As of right now, I am going to give it a 6.
Okay. Joe?
I'm right there with Travis. I'm giving it a 7. I like the movie. I really wish they would have had it. When you have multiple villains, it's hard to give them proper time. And so I wish we would have had more Cheetah. I wish we would have had more Max. I mean, I know they're pivotal to the story, but I wish we would have got to have known them a little bit more. Everybody did a wonderful job, I think. There's some wonky scenes here and there and some plot holes that we touched on and a few we didn't. But overall, 7. Definitely gonna try to watch this at least one more time, if not 2, before the time's up. And I'm right there with Clay. I'll be buying this, add it to my collection. Hopefully, I can get it in a steel book, so I can get, because I've got all the other ones.
Pretty confident you will.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Chris, what'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, I'm with you on a 7. This, even though we're not due breaking, kind of thought about this after watching it twice. I'll definitely watch it one more time before it leaves. But it right now, it's pretty much neck and neck tie for me with Shazam in where it is in my rankings. So
Okay. Yeah, I gotta kind of side with Clay here. There are certain things I can't look past. There are certain things we talked about tonight that I'm gonna go back and rewatch the movies. I've watched it twice. It didn't move the needle for me, but I'm right there at a 6. It's a movie that whenever I see it on, I'll watch it. If somebody else is watching it, sure, I'll watch it. I don't dislike the movie, but if I'm flipping through a bunch of movies, there's a lot of movies I'm gonna run through first before I get to this one that I turn on. So 6 for me.
Okay.
And yeah, okay. Well, we have one more thing real quick, and then we'll get out of here, y'all. I wanted to compare this to a food, and Travis, I kind of stole this from you, and it kind of goes with the Lisa elevator pitch too, because this is kind of the elevator pitch. If you had to market this as one food, what would you do? And I'll go the reverse order. Chris, what would your food be?
it would be kettle corn.
Okay.
And we're going to be, there are some many sweet moments, and you're probably going to have some salty moments in there. But in the end, it's still going to, you're still going to enjoy it.
Okay. Okay. Joe?
This is gonna be problematic because I love chili dogs, and I don't know if everybody else loves chili dogs. So I'm gonna go with the chili dog. Some people like it, some people don't. I prefer it without onions, so that's just me.
It's a good one. Clay, what you got?
This is gonna be very controversial.
And you haven't been all night?
I'll say like anything else.
Don't like chocolate.
Now you're worried about that?
Don't like chocolate. Wait, what?
I do not like chocolate. So I'm going to put, as of right now, as I ranked it as a 6, this is chocolate.
Okay. Okay. What you got, Lisa?
This is hard. I would compare this to, a comfort food, I guess. Maybe like mac and cheese, just something that I really enjoy, is very tasty. Maybe I won't watch it all the time, just like I'm not going to eat mac and cheese all the time because, it's a lot of carbs. I'm not going to eat them all the time.
Oh, please.
But, I really like it. So there.
Sarah, give me a food.
Creme brulee. Because you have a
Fancy.
nice
Man.
crust on the top, but you have to break through it to get down to the nice custtard.
Oh, I
You're
like
getting
that.
I like
fancy over
that.
here, Sarah.
Deep with
Calm
that
down.
stuff. Jesus.
Yeah.
Very
And creme
nice.
brulee is one of my
Here
favorite
I come
desserts
with-
too. So
I don't
It
like
is so
chocolate.
I had a Cody dog. Come on.
Travis, what you got, man?
I would say nachos, but nachos specifically at a Super Bowl party pre-COVID world. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because I love nachos. I love anything with melted cheese. But when someone else makes nachos, you don't know necessarily what's in those
That's a
nachos
good
as far as
point.
toppings. And that's where I love the whole overall dish. But every once in a while, I got all of them there. You got to spit
When they
that
put
out.
that
Don't want that.
ballpark cheese, and you're like, "What's going on?"
Exactly.
You
So that's
didn't
where it's
bake
like,
this.
overall, I like the chips, I like the salsa, I like the melted
Mhm.
cheese, I like some of the toppings, but there's some toppings that aren't the greatest. Or maybe, like everyone likes nachos cooked a certain way. Maybe your friend just loves them like burnt, or they love the cheese like just melted, where it's like, this could have been a bit more baked. So it's like that, where overall,
can't have them
enjoy-
soggy.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but there's some soggy chips in there. And,
Toppings to chip ratios. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So that's
Complicated.
what
Five
Hey.
chips together still counts as one chip.
That's right.
Yes,
Hey,
if they're
I
stuck
love that
together.
movie. We should do that movie on Slice Film one day. Ask Katie if she wants to do that movie on Slice Film one day. Yeah, mine is a sweet tart. You look at it; it's got a bright, colorful package. It's gonna be fun. As soon as you open it up, you eat them. they're okay, but then in the end you realize you're just eating a big kind of rock ball of sugar, and
I love
it
sweet
was,
tarts.
it was
That's
Yeah,
this
me
movie
too.
is
I love
not
sweet
a
Back,
tarts
it's
too.
one of my
I
favorites.
love sweet tarts too, but whenever I eat sweet tarts, by the time I get done with it, I'm not satisfied. Like when I eat a Reese's peanut butter cup or
What
or
is
an
wrong
almond
with
joy.
you?
You know, something like that.
Reese's
is
peanut butter
gross.
cup
What you
doesn't
call it.
satisfy
Well, that's the
you.
problem.
That's
You like almond
gross.
joy, so
Sadistic person.
It's chocolate.
No, I said they do
That's
satisfy me,
gross.
but sweet tarts don't do that same.
Oh, okay.
Like I
Oh,
enjoy
okay.
the sweet tarts, but whenever I get done with it, I don't have that feeling like I do with real candy, like peanut M&Ms or Reese's.
Real
It is a real candy.
Whatchamacallit,
This big
almond
shit
joy.
outta here.
Wow.
You know, stuff like
Sweet
that.
tart
So,
shade.
so
I'm not expecting
cow.
this.
but no, it's not the worst movie ever for sure. I don't even know if it's the worst DCEU movie. I have to go back and look at that. I don't think it would be
No.
because I do have
there's a little movie
some
called
things that are my
Justice
worst.
League. We won't talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's
It
It doesn't
yeah.
exist.
I don't know if I
don't
consider
what
that
you're
a
talking
So
about.
then there's a little movie called
Never
the
seen that
Not
one,
Error
but-
Cut Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad is.
But I would
something else.
recommend everybody see it. It's not a bad movie. It has its points that are not that great. I don't feel, but
I mean,
there's
to
something.
be fair,
certain
we
people
all
can
got
look
it,
past.
gave it over a 5. So
Yeah, exactly.
True,
So
yeah.
I feel like it's a movie worth
Watchable.
watching.
Yeah.
So, that's it, y'all. 3 hours. We hit the
Yes.
3 hour mark exactly.
It's
So
3 hours. Woo.
let's wrap this up. And I thank every one of y'all for being on tonight. It was an awesome review. I'm gonna go in the reverse order. Tell them where they can find you at, Mr. Snell.
Travis B. Snell on Twitter. You can find me whether it's Marvel Alliance with Chris or Geek First. We also did a 2 hour review over there, and that was tons of fun. And we have soon our Golden Geeks coming up. That's our Oscars. There's not too many films this year, but we're still gonna do we top 5 actors, actresses, film, everything like that. And it's tons of fun because we get into lots of silly debates like this. No debates over Reese's maybe, but nonetheless, I thank Greg for having me on. I thank everybody else for being here. It was a really fun time.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at My Little Kitten. You can also find me live Friday nights on Super Civil Servants podcast.
That's right.
I'm a regular there, so I'm so excited. Yay. And I kind of bounce around a little bit. I've been on Star Wars Alliance, and this is my first DC Alliance. So I've had quite a bit of fun. So
You started
like Mr. Balga says, I'm the rational one. So but yeah, I just kind of wander around Twitter. You can find me on Instagram as well too. So but other
Lisa,
than that,
before you tell everybody where they can find you at, I want you to know that I bought my daughter her first little cosplay. I sent
I
you a picture
saw
of
the
it the other
picture.
day.
It's so cute.
And I told her about you, and she said, "Oh, can I please talk to her sometime? Can I please talk to her? I want tips
Aw.
and tricks." So
okay,
you're her
definitely.
cosplay goddess. So there you go. But where can they find you at, Lisa?
You can find me at ILTM Podcast on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. I love that movie podcast. And you can find my podcast pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. So just search I Love That Movie. And several people on this call have been guests before. And if you haven't been a guest and you're on this call, I would love to have you. But essentially, every week we just talk about a different movie that we love. And it's not any more complicated than that. So would love to hear from everybody. And thank you so much for having me. This is super fun to gush about. So, and this group of people is just amazing. So thank you.
Lisa, it's always a super fun time talking to you, whether it's on your show or you're joining us on ours. Love having you. Thank you so much for coming on. Clay, where can they find you at, buddy?
Yeah, I just want to say, don't know if you remember, it was like 2 years ago, Lisa. You were my very first guest on my podcast.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at fanboy Clay. If you go to my Twitter account, you can see my link tree where you can see that I'm a part of Fanboy Comics Podcast, Comic Book Legion Podcast, Batman News Weekly Podcast, Ranger Alliance, as well as the Weird Science Marvel Podcast.
Clay doesn't sleep like Greg.
Yeah, no,
Right.
not really.
Greg.
Greg, you
I
got
see
some
what you're doing,
competition.
Clay. I see what
Compete,
you're
we can
doing,
be on more
Clay.
shows.
Okay, I got a
On
new show.
Batman News Weekly this week, we are doing our top 10 comic books, Batman comics of 2020. So go check that out. On Ranger Alliance, we just published a Christmas special. So if you haven't listened to that, go check that out. That's super
That was
fun with
great to
Joe.
record. Just gonna say.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of stuff out there that I'm a part of. And on the Weird Science Marvel podcast, we did a Patreon only episode
Ooh.
for next week. So go check that out as well.
Folks, check it out. Give that $5. Get that extra content. It's going to be good stuff. You'll like it, I promise. Joe, where can they find you at, buddy?
I'm on Twitter at underscore actually underscore. Also for my podcast, it's Comic Book Rundown. On Twitter, it's Comic Rundown. Instagram, Comic Book Rundown. We actually this week we are starting our month-long dive into the first appearances of superheroes. I think this is coming up tomorrow, or Monday. We just uploaded our first appearance of Superman. So we talked about Action Comics #1, and oh boy,
Check that out.
I'm also part of the Ranger Alliance with Clay, and that's fun. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, you had Power Rangers and anybody in this network into it. It's going to be a fun talk. So good stuff. Chris, where can they find you, buddy?
You can find me on Twitter at Chris Balga. As Travis said, he and I host Marvel Alliance. We're off this week, just doing a retro. I think we're doing Hawksbox Supercut this week.
Xbox, yeah. So if you like X-Men, that's the place to get it.
And this week with World's Finest True Believers at Finest Believers, retro with Back with You, Greg, House of M.
I didn't know that was coming out. I was so happy to see that. I was like, oh yay! I have 2 podcasts coming out. Awesome.
And yeah, we get back in the new year with our next week with our new episode. We'll drop a little hint. It's Marvel, but it's a good feel good kind of Marvel story. So
Good deal. Can't wait to see you. Go check it out. I love that show. Love being on that show. Chris, I podcast on like 6 or 7 different shows now. Your show is still the show that I'm most nervous to come on. Like I feel like it's a test. Every time I come on, I'm like, oh, I don't want to screw up. So it's a great show.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It keeps me on my toes. It makes me work hard to be good on your show. So I'm not saying I'm good, but yeah. Check me out at the Bat Daddy 52 on Twitter. It's my personal handle. I like Clay are on a lot of shows. Superhero discussions on Fridays, Super Simple Servants on Fridays, DC Alliance podcast, C3 Panthers podcast. I normally do on Sundays and after the games and Tuesdays. But we're doing this tonight. Batman, You Complete Me. Check that out. It's a monthly drop. I think we're going to be recording that soon, Mr. Snell. It's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, we're talking about the Keaton Burden era, and
it's going to be really, really fun stuff.
Yep.
But we're all over the place. Check out the Geek Golden Alliance Network. Folks, if you can have the ability to, go ahead and contribute to the Patreon account. We love that. If not, give us a like, give us a share, tell your friends about it, put it out there. We're all over the place. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Once again, I thank all y'all so much. Awesome review. It's really fun to get up with a group of friends, and I can't thank you enough. So,
Thank
very
you
much.
for having
Had
us.
Thank
fun.
you.
this is DC Alliance for this week. So till next week, like I always sign out, keep pounding.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Happy New Year, guys.